This month's episode is brought to you by Ocelot Market. What is an ocelot exactly? Is it like a monkey sort of thing, or is it like a cat sort of thing?
I think ocelot is closer to monkey. We should probably look it up.
They're not selling these. Look, let's say what they are. They're not selling these things online. It's actually quite the opposite.
You know how to get to the dark web, don't you?
Ocelot Market is an online marketplace that works directly with about 100 different artisan workshops in countries all over the world to provide you with unique and fashion-forward shoes, clothing, bags, and accessories from the people who actually make them, ensuring that the people actually making the products are receiving the benefits of your purchase.
It's a cat.
Each product is unique and made by hand from artisans in countries from Turkey to Nepal to Ethiopia to Venezuela to Haiti. They've got products for women and men, plus a lot of stuff that's great for summer, which you'll need because the hottest month of the year is upon us, Greg. So join Ocelot Market in their mission to uplift communities, promote transparency, and celebrate craftsmanship by going to ocelotmarket.com today. That's OCELOT. Ocelotmarket.com.
It's a cat.
Hello, loyal LA Meekly listeners.
Hello to the disloyal ones as well. I don't know what you're doing here. Welcome.
Hello to the ones who have wronged us and betrayed us in the past. Before we get to the actual show this month, we've got a new podcast to recommend to you, and it's called
Profiles in Eccentricity.
To quote their own words, it's a show about weirdos. Yep. Each episode tells a tale about someone who lives afoul of the rules most of us live by. They'll cover people like Caligula, Mike Tyson, my two favorite Roman emperors.
The celebrity deathmatch we've been all wanting to see.
Boston Corbett, who was the eunuch who killed John Wilkes Booth, and of course, Lobster Boy. They've even had some crossover with our show covering Jack Parsons and Amy Semple McPherson. Yep. Profiles in Eccentricity is similar to the format of our show, only if we were perverts.
Only if we've been outed as perverts, which try to get me.
It's hosted by John Fahey.
Love him.
Aaron Pita.
Love him.
And Matt Brousseau. And moving right along.
Love him.
We know them all personally, and they're three of the funniest comedians that we know, though they are perverts. I've always thought of them, of their show and them, as like they're the Rolling Stones and we're the Beatles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Only.
But we're the Silver Beatles with Pete Best still in the band?
We're Paul is dead.
They're the Rolling Stones early, and we're the Wings.
We're the TV that the Who threw out the window. So check out Profiles in Eccentricity anywhere podcasts are found. You're not going to regret it. It's a really fun show, and you'll learn a lot, and it's funny. So listen to Profiles in Eccentricity
wherever podcasts are sold. Welcome to the reboot of the LA Meekly podcast by the Slow Boys. The podcast will have you saying, is Daniel talking into his microphone this time?
Okay.
Oh, slow down.
By slow down, I meant don't be mean to me this month.
I meant slow your roll, as in your mean roll.
And I'm not just talking about the spicy tuna you're eating. Yeah, let's start out by pointing out...
what you couldn't do with your microphone last time was point out.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Wow. This roll is not just spicy, but also crunchy. Well, okay, so I got a new microphone.
I was on a website. The website is www.badmicrophone.com.
And I read how to use it on I'mAnIdiot.net. So I got a new microphone for the podcast thing because we're going to be recording. Yeah. I even think I mentioned in the episode, like, I got a new microphone.
You did.
And this is
great. And I'm better than Greg in every way, in every conceivable way.
And I'm going to flaunt my wealth by using this microphone. And I was so excited to use it. I was bragging to you about it. I'm like, this is going to sound so great. Yeah. We recorded the whole episode. You went to the bathroom, and I realized that my microphone was pointed the wrong direction the entire podcast for last month. It was pointed at you.
No, you didn't realize till much later, but you knew that something was wrong, and you're like, why isn't it where and you're like, I can't believe, how dare they? And then you got home later, or no, you were here, so I left, and you were like, text me as I was driving. You're like, it was the wrong way.
I was wondering,
pointed the wrong way.
How dare they put back on the back of the microphone? How was I supposed to know? Because I was wondering while we were recording it, like, why does it sound so echoey? Like, I feel like I'm hearing your voice when I'm talking. Yeah, so now I'm back to the old microphone because I don't trust myself.
It's very funny. I can't trust myself to see the word back and still be confused. It's like you're talking to a megaphone, but the big part, and you're like, I sound small.
I know.
I sound small. How come?
I mean, I saw that microphone got back is what I assumed. And I just thought, wow, this is
culture's changing.
Even the microphones are edgy.
They have sass.
Was this OnlyFans? There were some audio issues. Yeah. I put so much more work into it to make it not sound like that. And everyone I've asked is like, oh, I didn't notice anything. But I'm sure a lot of people noticed there were some weird things.
No. It's funny. I mean, it's not funny for you. It's a little funny in
tell
retrospect.
Me why this is funny.
That you're constantly tinkering. I will be like in the most dramatic part and you're like, I'm listening. But you're like tinkering and listening to like the earphone quality. Like you're not listening to me at all and you completely zone out. And it's so funny that you do all of that, but your microphone is pointed in the wrong direction.
It's a classic doofus mistake. This is a clinical example of doofusism.
You are terminally Poindexter. You have terminal Poindexterism.
I have a fatal case of the goofies. But okay, so that's one thing we had to address. We normally don't come in with pre-prepared stories, but I already told you this and I wish I hadn't told you. But people should hear this because as everybody knows, during most of the pandemic, we were recording.
Oh my God. Okay, everybody just, if you're standing up, sit down. This is incredible. You can pause it, go grab wine, go grab something funny to drink.
If you're listening, if your headphones are pointed the wrong direction, make sure they don't say back on them and put them in properly. We were recording in my parking structure at my building.
Open air.
Open air. We wanted to be safe. So
you didn't want to be in the courtyard because you didn't want people walking past us as we recorded.
And also disturbing people, which this podcast is disturbing. There's no other way to describe it. So we were in the parking and famously my manager of the building once tried to tell us to leave and said we couldn't be there for whatever reason. So I'm sitting in my apartment the other day. The window's open and this woman who lives in the building is in the courtyard talking. And she was talking to someone else who lives here. She was talking about because like sometimes homeless people leave
clothes, rolly backpacks,
candles, and she was clearly exaggerating the situation. And then she says,
"Do it in her voice. Do it in her voice. I want to hear this idiot talk."
So here's the exact quote that she said. These two homeless guys used to sit in lawn chairs pretending to do a podcast, interviewing each other with a plastic microphone every single day during COVID.
I can't believe the Bowery Boys would do that.
Why would Joe Rogan be in my parking structure?
Let's break it down. Homeless people. Is this the woman who...
She is the one who...
would complain or like park really close to the empty space where I would park my truck.
When you were sitting in the back of your truck, you would park in... Because no one lived there, so you would park in that spot. And she started parking
aggressively
over both the spots every day so that you couldn't do that.
Yeah, we never disturbed her. If she parked and got out of the car, we shut up and she would walk out. We would try to... Okay.
We wouldn't catcall her like we do with all other...
Like we weren't being loud and annoying. Like she got out of the car, we were just quiet. We were
trying to get something done while other people were trying to live in the building.
So let's break down homeless people. Guys. Even though I had a truck, we had lawn chairs. You live in the building.
She's seen me 100 times pretending to do a podcast. Why would homeless people pretend to do a podcast?
Why would two house people pretend to have a podcast? Why would anyone pretend? Living in a home or living on the streets.
And a plastic microphone. Now, granted, knowing me, I probably plugged in a plastic microphone a few times, but it was facing the right direction.
It wasn't like a toy mic. It wasn't purple and yellow. Like it's not a toy microphone.
There wasn't sunglasses like attached to the top of it that said karaoke.
Does she only know microphones from like UFA fights they pull from the ceiling? Is that the only microphone this person knows?
It wasn't covered in diamonds like Sia's. I don't know. And we each have our own microphone. It's not like we were passing a Tonka microphone amongst each other. And every single day, we were there twice a month.
I think the entire sentence, the entire statement, the word pretending, it hinges on the word pretending. That's my favorite part.
Well, the person she was talking to was like, wow, I hope they got some listeners. And I was like, you know what? We do have some listeners. I burst out of my apartment.
Very slowly over 8 years, but yeah.
It's been growing a little bit. Sure, there's been a few dips and valleys, mostly valleys, but there have been peaks, okay? And yes, I now have a home.
I started as the mail boy for that podcast, and now I own it.
I started as the mail boy in this building, and now I live in this building. It was insane. It was insanity what I was hearing.
I hate being this famous. It sucks being this famous. When I go to restaurants, people come up and like, oh, are you a homeless person that pretends to have a podcast with a plastic microphone? I'm like, oh, please, not in front of everybody.
Please. Not in front of Mr. Clooney. But yeah, that was...
My blood was boiling, but the sound that came out of my mouth was laughter, but my response wasn't like, oh, I didn't find it funny when you told me. I thought like that's ridiculous.
I didn't feel mirth when I heard this. But anyway, I'm Daniel Zaffron.
Hi, I'm Greg Gonzalez, and I only sometimes pretend to have a podcast. So what'd you do?
Before we talk about the last month, let's thank, we have a few new Patreon people that we should thank.
Hey.
It's always good to give to charity. So thanks to these people for supporting us on Patreon. Here's the people we have. We've got a familiar name to you and I, Cara McGee.
Hi, Cara. Oh, it's so nice to hear from you, Cara.
Yeah, our old mate from Coffee Bean Open Mic.
It should traditionally be said that it was the soapbox that would put on the open mic at Coffee Bean, and she was part of that, and she's wonderful.
Because it was an outdoor open mic, and we kind of liked that it was outdoors, and everyone's like, I would never do an outdoor open mic, and then COVID hits, and everyone's like,
is there a parking lot I can tell my jokes at?
Are you pretending to have an open mic at Coffee Bean? And then we also have Sam Vickland.
Hi, Sam.
I keep reading it as Alicia Vikander.
Yeah, you do. And you're like, how do I know that name? Like, you don't.
This person was an Ex Machina, right? Was that Alicia Vikander?
Yeah, she's also Tomb Raider.
Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider?
The Tomb Raider?
Tomb Raider and Indiana Jones should have gotten married. And then we have our final person. We have Betsy Zellen.
Hi, Betsy. Thanks for being our postcard pal.
Yeah, thanks, Betsy. A fellow Z last name.
Oh, you guys were in the back of the line.
Or sometimes the front of the line.
The sub wanted to mix it up.
And oftentimes, whenever the roster of who was in the classroom was printed out, I would be left out because it went slightly onto a second page, and they figured, I don't need the second page. There's only one name on it, and it was mine.
You didn't make the cut.
Sorry, you're not in calculus. You didn't make the calculus class. Okay, so now we can talk about...
Okay.
Oh, one last thing.
Yes, please.
I started a Los Angeles history / LA Meekly subreddit, so it's r/Los Angeles history. So join us on there, and we'll start a whole community and talk about things. So what'd you do in the past month?
Oh my God, I don't even remember anymore. I went to my first comedy show proper at The Good Night, which is one of the places that I've really loved doing comedy at. It's a little bar in North Hollywood on Burbank Boulevard. And it was...
Yeah, it's down the street from The Clown.
It's down the street from The Clown, yeah. It was a great show. It was called Avatar 2. Joe Kay, Kevin Anderson, Ethan Stanislawski hosted it, and Eddie Pepitone was the headliner, Brandy Posey, and...
I feel like all of your past 3 months of what you've done in the past month has been, I went to my first comedy show.
I went to my first open mic. I went to my first comedy show. Yeah, I've been slowly gearing towards it. But they're checking Vax records, so I felt a little safe, and it was very nice to be around friends, even though I kind of freaked out because being around people again was not comfortable for me. But it was what I was looking for, was like, oh, I'm with all my friends and we're all laughing like crazy people, and
into each other's mouths,
directly into each other's mouths, and trading dentures. What is it? You wear it all the time. What are they called?
Retainers.
We're trading retainers.
Are you talking about retainers or bite guards? Because
they're different.
Those are two different things that I wear all the time.
It was great being at a comedy show again, and I can't wait to be more.
Well, my thing of the month is I don't know if I think we might have talked about this place in the candy episode, or maybe we did research on it, or I did research on it for something, and then we never actually recorded it. But I went to the Monastery of the Angels, which is...
Tell me everything, because I don't know, because it sounds like what you said doesn't match with candy, so I'm going to need to know what you're talking about. It's almost like you said, it might have been in our taffy episode, but I went to the Vatican.
I meant Monastery of the Chiclets. That's where I went. It's a monastery. It's I guess Dominican. I don't know what they... I don't. It's a religion.
Please don't guess.
It's one of the Jesus religion, and it's in the Hollywood Hills, just kind of above where the 101 Diner is. Okay. It's right above the 101 Diner. Okay. So Andy Dick must be there all the time. And there's these nuns who are cloistered in there who never leave. Never leave. No one goes in. Women go in. Nuns never go out.
None go in, none go out.
Only none don't go out. They're just sequestered there, and you don't see them. There's a few places that are open, like the chapel you can go into, but you do not see the nuns. Okay. I read one interview, I guess you could arrange to meet a nun.
Yeah, dying to.
It's like auctioning off a date with this celebrity. Have a confessional with this nun. But I read one interview with one, and they're like, "How much do you know about the outside world?" Because she had gone in 1970 or 1960 something. She was like, "I know pop culture. I've heard of Elvis." And this was 2010 that she was interviewed.
Costello, Crespo, which one?
But anyway, the thing about the candy,
yes,
they have this gift shop because they make these chocolates, which I didn't get, but they're more famous for their pumpkin bread. Is what they're famous for. Yeah, it was really good pumpkin bread. Yeah. And I kept referring, there was this lady working in the
Yumkin bread. Go ahead.
Yumkin bread.
Yom Kippur. Is that the same thing?
Do they observe Yom Kippur? Which ironically, you don't eat anything, so it's not not so yum.
It's not so yum.
It's not so yum.
Kippur. It's not so yummy Kippur.
There was a lady working there who wasn't one of the nuns. She just like was a supporter of the church, and I kept referring to her as the nun's familiar because she was the one who has like a contact with the public. She sold us. They had like because I didn't see any. I'm like, you got any of that punk? Yeah. Got any of that yummy nunkin bread? And she opened up her refrigerator and they had a ton. And it was really good. And it's on the package. It says the official bread of Tom LaBonge. But yeah, it was great bread. And go there.
Okay.
Go there and get some bread.
Sounds good.
It's so weird because it's literally up the street from the 101 diner.
Yeah.
And it's a whole other world. Like
is it that like, I think it's called like I don't know if it's the north, but the higher Beechwood Canyon, kind of like
it's
a
not
stone.
That hara.
Okay.
That hara.
It's not har. It's not Hare Krishna.
It's not that. Oh no, I ate too much pumpkin bread.
Oh no, they got me.
I went past Dominican and now I'm Hare Krishna. It's literally just like a block up from the 101 diner, but it's a weird, it's a strange little place.
You've been in that area a lot lately. I think last month you did Raymond Chandler's.
I like to stay above Hollywood Boulevard.
I'm a Hollywood Hills guy now.
I like to stay between the Hollywood sign and Hollywood Boulevard. That's where
that's my jam.
Hang out for the career you want to be.
My favorite is that you barely rattled that off. I can see it in your eyes. Like, I don't know the next words that are going to come out of my mouth, but I hope it lands.
My microphone's backwards. People won't hear that. So, all right, we're going to do a listener question at the end. So let's talk about what this episode is going to be about.
Okay.
It's the hottest month of the year.
It is. Hey, past that climate report, every month is the hottest month of the year for the next whatever.
For the next end of time.
Yeah.
Which is 12 years.
This is the hottest August till next August. This is the hottest September till next September.
We figured since it's so hot, we'll talk about something hot also. Fight fire with fire. Mm-hmm. We're talking hot sauces.
Hot sauces and hot sauce related items.
Yeah. Hot sauce and hot sauce accessories.
We really kind of veered on this one, but you know what?
We're feeling hot. We covered a few hot sauces and hot related things from Los Angeles. And I guess I'm going first.
Would you
so
please?
Let's do this. L is for the way you look in a bottle. A, there's at least 4 letters you're going to hear here. Let me try this again a little bit more. It makes more sense in the rhythm of the song.
Right, go ahead and
L
sing it.
Is for the way you look in a bottle. A is for the second letter denoting femininity. V is very, very. ICTORIA. La Victoria is the salsa that I adore. Not really. I kind of lost you wouldn't let me listen to the LP before is the salsa that I adore. Okay, there we go. Hang on. Let me try that again. Let me say not really. I don't adore this salsa.
But you sang a song for it, and you also wrote a song for it.
I've sang a song about a lot of things I don't adore. You remember my song about the Taliban.
Cute song, but boy, that was some strong words you had for the Taliban.
Boy, did it not age well and was also prescient. So this is one local salsa whose spicy, but not really, roots go back to salsa's homeland, Mexico, our southern neighbor. Can we borrow a cup of salsa? No.
They're like, please go away.
We don't want
We're traumatized enough. Please don't knock on our door anymore.
Please don't knock on our door. So that's where the La Baca family comes from. They had a family recipe for homemade salsa, the only kind of salsa there was in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And when the family decided to move to Los Angeles, California, around the turn of the century, they reserved a special seat in their wagon for that salsa recipe. Wow. They brought it here with them. When they got here, they decided to do something a lot of immigrants around the time and now decide to do when they get to a new place and need a way to make money, which was selling food. Also, in like 1900 Los Angeles, like what are you going to do? What job are you going to do in 1900 Los Angeles if not sell salsa?
Right. Yes. You can be William Mulholland or you can sell salsa, and there was no in between.
And you got to be. That's why William Mulholland had to bring water, because this salsa was so spicy. And that's what I'm getting. That's the big scoop.
There it is. Take it, because we all ate some of that. And
it is. Chug it.
I feel like I put my tongue on just like an oven. That's spicy food for me, baby.
I've been eating radishes to get the heat out of my mouth for the last 12 years that it took to get this water to Los Angeles. So the La Baca family decided their food of choice should be their family salsa recipe. So in 1917, they started putting their salsa in jars and selling them around town. It's crazy to think how old some of these salsa companies are. The first salsa they made was their salsa Brava, which they still make today using the same family recipe. And by all accounts, this was the first commercially jarred and sold salsa salsa ever in the United States was La Victoria Salsa Brava in 1917 in Los Angeles. That's insane. What? Here's another natural history museum, Southwest Museum first. I have a date. I have a year, and you're going to tell me it's 4 years after that and be like, yeah, it's the first one. Can you believe it's the first one?
1951. It's the first one. We'll get to me.
Yeah, nobody had jarred salsa until 1951.
Have you met Americans during the 40s?
They love their salsa.
Oh yeah, no, put salsa on my cottage cheese and milk or whatever gross stuff.
Please, can I have the Jell-O salsa and a side of scrapple? It's crazy because as one of the articles I pointed out, sliced bread wasn't sold until 1928, so jarred salsa predates sliced bread in the United States. There were some bottled hot sauces in Massachusetts being sold as early as 1807, but La Victoria was the first Mexican-style salsa ever sold in the United States, and they became popular and grew for decades until 1941 when their top salesman, who was a German man named Henry Tanklage, of course the German guy's last name is Tank.
Of course.
They changed it from Henry Panzerlage.
He used to be Bazooka Joe, and then they changed it.
That's his American cousin, Bazooka Joe. So Henry Tanklage bought the company from the family with the intent of taking the brand national. It was known and beloved regionally, but Tanklage wanted to expand, so he loaded his trunk with salsa. Loose salsa.
Keep pouring it in.
But Henry, it's coming out of the exhaust pipe, Henry, at 9. Das Salsa.
Fraulein Autobahn.
I don't understand your language, Henry.
You're from Jersey. Why do you keep doing this?
You were born here, Henry. Why do you insist on speaking in random German words, Henry? Yeah. So he loaded his trunk with salsa and drove all around the West getting people hooked on the salsa, which during this time, the early to mid 40s, was when a lot more white Americans were starting to become aware of Mexican food in the West of the United States. So it started becoming a hit with them. Right. Because it's a very mild salsa. Like, I don't know how it used to be, but nowadays it's like red water. I read that it was either 1941 or 1952, but in one of those 2 years, Tanklage introduced their famous red and green enchilada sauce and their taco sauce. And by 1946, they were hawking 10 different types of salsa like green chili and red jalapeno, all made using tomatoes from right here in the Central Valley of California.
Central Valley, is that Los Angeles? I'm kidding.
I meant the Central San Fernando Valley, the great tomato fields of the Central San Fernando Valley.
Reseda.
Home of Cobra Kai?
Oh my God. I walked right into it.
I
walked right into it.
As I promised in the ad that we recorded in the middle of this, I will be talking about Cobra Kai a lot because I can't stop watching Cobra Kai. So their other huge innovation, as if being the first jarred salsa sold in the United States wasn't enough, was that in 1955, they were the first company to put a heat thermometer on their jars to show how spicy each sauce was, which is so helpful to me.
What am I getting myself into?
And I bring my own thermometer next to it to compare. They're now made by Hormel Foods and owned by Megamex Foods LLC, but to me, they'll always be that little family salsa from Mexico that I've only ever seen white people eating. So that's La Victoria. Do you want me to sing the song again? Or do you want me to sing the song again or reference Cobra Kai? Which do you want? How do you want me to end this?
I have to pick one. Okay, how do I hurt the listeners? What can I hurt the listeners with? I know how to hurt the listeners. I'll start my first story.
Ouch.
Ouch. Self-directed ouch. We'll be talking about another old historic Los Angeles sauce, which it's debatable whether this is salsa or not, but they later came out with a salsa, so it kind of counts.
Well, say what you're talking about.
I'm going to be talking about...
Shut your mouth.
I was talking about Shaft. I'm going to talk about James Walker Foods, and their product, El Pato, which I read in a Vice article as having a cult status, which instantly makes it cool.
It's in Vice. Wow. And that's for those who can't understand your Latin flair. El Pato, P-A-T-O. Isn't that the duck? That's a duck, right?
Yeah, it's the duck. But it's most
which is one of the big moves when you're in Cobra Kai. Actually, Cobra Kai never
sweep
ducks.
Sweep
the legs and then duck.
The crane, the duck.
There's also the otter, the bear.
Different situations, but all useful. What El Pato is known most famously for, like you were saying, are the cans, either yellow, sometimes red, sometimes green, with a little duckaroo on the label. It is one of the most recognizable labels and a holdover from the fruit crate label days.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it's
when we were marketing ducks to the United States.
I mean, like how many orange crate labels had like a bear or a lion on it? And you're like,
all right, I'll eat some lion oranges.
This orange isn't made of lions.
What is this, lion juice?
The story goes back surprisingly far, and we start with James Walker, who was born in 1878.
This doesn't sound like a very Latin name.
No,
James Walker.
They're American. Americans.
Okay.
But we'll get to why it's called Al Pato.
Oh, you think Latin people can't be Americans? Wow.
Not in 1878.
Bet you wish your microphone was backwards. Because certainly your ideas are.
There wasn't much I found on his childhood or where he was born, but in 1890, at the age of 12, James' father dies, and it's on him to go get a job and help support the family. At the age of 26, James and his new wife are in Los Angeles, or they were here the whole time, I don't know. But they purchase a building at what everyone calls the heart of downtown, but it's actually what I call the outskirts of downtown, on Mission Road on the other side of the river across from Union Station off of Alvarado.
So was that like East LA?
Bordering East LA or maybe Boyle Heights. It's like directly on the other side of the river. Like they're behind El Pato is the river. I guess it's
that's where the ducks live.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna find a duck, it's probably in the river. The building is for his new company, Walker Manufacturing, and he's going to specialize in Mexican foods, which is cool that someone saw a market for a region that had a large Mexican population, because less than 60 years before this, we were Mexico. Walker Foods does not officially establish itself until 1914, so they are selling American salsa. It's the first company to do that in 1914.
Huh.
You want me to write that math for you?
But, by your own admission, they did not start with salsa. It was like an enchilada sauce.
Right.
Which is not salsa.
It's a
hot sauce. Some might consider enchiladas to be spicy.
Al Pato is mostly known for their tomato base, the tomato sauce.
Yeah.
And then they had some other stuff too. And they later came out with the salsa. But at first they were selling this kind of cooking base that we'll get into.
Yeah. Yeah, they were selling something that wasn't a salsa.
When you gave me the assignment, you're like, Al Pato. And I'm like, well, all right. And they're important because Al Pato was one of, if not the first, to produce salsa in the U.S. American salsa.
Salsa is a loose term.
It is a very loose term for what they do. I agree. And they were the first American salsa to travel over the border and be sold to Mexico, where it became popular as a cooking base. While Tapatio and Cholula are put on the top of food like this,
right.
Al Pato tomato sauce.
Wait, show me how to use Tapatio.
It's similar to like the way you would shake in America, like imagine like a salt and pepper.
In America, how you say ketchup.
How you say salt and pepper.
So they were selling it back to Mexico. This American,
the tomato base that they were making here in America, they were selling to Mexico. And
that's
then like
weird.
Yeah. What do you want me? It's the 20s.
Everything was backwards.
Yeah, everything was backwards.
We just came out of World War I. We didn't know Mexico from America.
It's just one stretch of land. It's just one lyric in a John Lennon song.
It's just one area waiting to be turned into trenches.
So, like I was saying, while Tapatio and Cholula are put on top of food to spice it up, Al Pato tomato sauce was mixed in as a base.
Right.
So you can make, you can make it with chilies and enchiladas.
Enchiladas.
You can mix it with chilies and onions and garlic. You can mix it with rice. Al Pato was also the first and largest users of the cascabel chilies, and the biggest users of that in the world, which are cultivated in different states in Mexico. They look like cherries and they taste like red.
Doesn't cascabel mean rattlesnake?
I think so, yeah.
Do they taste like rattlesnakes?
No, but they'll bite you.
Yeah, well, there's another snake that I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's not a rattlesnake, but it's a little scarier than a rattlesnake. It's a cobra.
And here I thought you were going for an Escape in LA reference.
That was last month. This month is all Cobra Kai all the time.
I told you when you first started watching it, don't tell me to watch it. Everyone's telling me to watch it. I get that it's good. I'll get around to it. Do not come to me like, it's so good you gotta watch it.
This is 3 years in, so it's stupid for me to be like, have you heard of this show, Cobra Kai?
I'm telling you that you're probably going to have to watch the sequels to Karate Kid before you continue, but you don't care.
Nah.
According to gourmetsleuth.com, cascabels are moderately hot.
The unimpeachable.
Cascabels are moderately hot and have a nutty flavor with a rich tannic and slightly smoky nuance. On the heat scale, the cascabel is considered a moderately hot chili of about like 4 on a scale to 1 to 10. It allows it to be used as mostly like flavoring without adding a lot of heat to the dish. So it's not really like a salsa if you're like hot sauce salsa.
That's something that, because it falls into a weird category that's quote unquote enchilada sauce or taco sauce, whatever that is.
Right.
Yeah, it's not hot sauce because it certainly isn't hot.
Yes.
But it kind of is hot sauce.
It has like
it's red.
I call it tastes like red. It's got a kick to it for sure. Like for me who doesn't like spicy food, which I feel like the listeners are revolting right now, but I don't like spicy food really.
Episodes of podcasts about spicy food.
I don't hate doing this. How dare you?
You insisted I give you a glass of milk before we recorded.
I wouldn't call it spicy, but it has a kick to it. It gives me heartburn. I don't know. That burns.
That's just a tomato. A tomato is hot sauce to you.
Ketchup gives me heartburn too. James Walker's business really gets going in the 20s, and it's reported that he would hand deliver the sauce cans to households and to mom and pop shops. James passes away in 1947, and that's when his son, James Jr., takes over. James Jr.'s brother, the other son, Robert, at the time joins the company, Walker Foods, and branches off into the vinegar business and starts making mustard under the name Golden State or Walker Products, which like I said,
How come they're not around?
we'll get to it. They package.
I want to know now.
They package chilies, mustards, and vinegars. According to the Pato website, Walker Products was the first company to make white distilled vinegar, like in the country, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of the first.
Of course, it was white.
One of the first customers for mustard was in 1948. A new hamburger drive-thru in Baldwin Park called In-N-Out was using their mustard, and their supplier was Walker Products. Schneider's shop local. Robert was
Do they still use their mustard?
From what I can tell, yeah.
God, the In-N-Out is so loyal to everything.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, it's hard to be mad at. Like, I know that they're probably conservative, like crazy conservative and super rich and funding a bunch of crazy stuff, but like they're so loyal.
They're so loyal to the Proud Boys.
But the thing with In-N-Out was like they give money equally to both sides, but also like, you giving money to the Proud Boys for? We love In-N-Out so much. I've given them so much money.
And you've given the Proud Boys so much money too.
I'm tired of handing them cash all the time.
I'm tired of them mugging me. So.
Robert was also able to purchase factory space near that location as well to keep the Walker food branches together. So the company continues growing through the decades. James Walker Jr. has a heart attack on the Pato plant floor and dies.
Oh my God.
I know, it's awful. The reins in the company were passed on to Robert Walker, the dad, but soon the entirety of the Walker Foods company was given to Robert's son, Robert Walker Jr., who had started working for the company when he was 12 years old, the same age that his grandfather had started working after the loss of his father. I'm not sure, but it seems like Robert Walker Sr. passed around the same time as his brother. So now it's all this grandson who's taking over everything, and he's the current CEO. Robert Walker Jr. did not see himself in the position and was quite accomplished and was quite older. He was 56 when he took the company over, but he took it over and around this time merged both the family companies together. So now it's one big company.
Walker.
Pato. Yeah, Walker.
Walker Pato Ranger.
I gotta watch that show.
Yeah, you'll watch that, but you won't watch Cobra Kai. You want to see some real karate?
Nobody wears denim and it makes me mad.
Some people wear denim.
So Walker Foods, Pato, they're really a family business, and not just management, but the people who work for the plant are family people. They've been working for the plant for like 60 plus years, and as Robert Walker Jr. puts it, they've devoted their lives to this company. It's you work your whole life at this factory working for this company, so like it's like a big family organization. He was hesitant to take over, but he did not want to see the workers' jobs jeopardized, and he realized that it was his time to step up to the plate, which I think is admirable. Robert now owns Walker Foods with his three cousins, Frank, Russell, and Susan. Around the time they added delicious jalapeno, the green can, enchilada sauce, the red can to their product line. They've added their own bottled hot sauces to the game, flavors like a regular one, jalapeno and chipotle, which is a new one. And they introduced red hot tomato with jalapeno as a sauce. And then they got themselves the Great White Whale. They added McDonald's to their client list, which is of course a huge get. It's like a billion.
What is McDonald's? They're using their mustard, or they're?
I was wondering if they
make secret sauce.
Secret sauce is
enchilada sauce on my Big Mac.
I was thinking like now that I have like spicy chicken, I wonder if they use any of that ingredients. But they probably use vinegar for something. They use mustard for sure. They don't have anything with jalapenos in the menu.
They make McFlurries too, right?
They also make cream from McFlurries. Yeah. They make whatever issue breaks McFlurry machines. That's what they make. They make that.
Every single time I try to redeem a free McFlurry voucher and the machine's broken, that's El Pato.
You know who to thank now. There was trouble in 2013 when they had to pull Pato's salsa picante off the shelves after the FDA found a troubling amount of lead in the sauce.
Oh boy.
According to the article, and I don't know if this is true, but it sounds like all hot sauces have a little bit of lead in it, but some of them get flagged for having the excess of lead. I don't know if that's true, but it sounded like what the article was making it sound like. Walker fought these findings and said it was not as high as a report was claiming, but he also said that someone would have to eat a lot of it.
Put that lead in there.
Just a bullet floating in there.
And he's like going insane like the late era Roman emperors because he's had so much lead in his system. And he made his vice president a horse.
You got to trust me on this. You just have to trust me. He knows what direction to go with.
The CEO is now an actual duck. There's no lead in our sauce, quack.
Yeah, listen to that duck. That duck's pretty on it.
He's got the idea, quack.
See how he's pooping everywhere? He's on it.
See, there's no lead in that. There is duck poop.
Taste it. Taste the lead. See? No lead. He also was saying like you'd have to eat like a lot of it in a short amount of time for it to like
which leads us to our El Pato challenge.
Yeah, so enter the American Southwest. I'll eat all of it. But the article had this statement. If a child were to consume the sauce twice a day for a year, they would be exposed to 1.1 to 1.8 micrograms per deciliter of lead, according to the study. That's significantly less than the CDC's established limit of 10 micrograms per deciliter. So like it was high for what is usually usually you get, but you'd have to eat so much of it in a short amount of time for it to affect you. So they weren't that frazzled by this report.
I could
eat it.
I could get affected by this.
If someone's going to get sick from it, it would be you. According to this article, the hot sauce is also made in Mexico and bottled and shipped here, but I couldn't find anything on the website or any other mention of that. So that's kind of weird that this, I don't know how accurate this
the gourmet
report.
sleuth.
Yeah. They had another blow during the recession, of course, and the 2020 COVID outbreak, that another big hit, like back to back, this company took big hits. The pandemic hit them hard like it did everybody. The company put anyone over this age of 60 on paid home leave, which is nice. They brought in increased protection measures like plastic barriers between workstations, and they instituted contact tracing protocols for anyone who steps onto the property. But the company is still going strong. There were no layoffs, and operations were, they kept going safely throughout the pandemic. Pato and Walker Foods are now over 100 years old, starting here along the river. For as a cult status as it is, its popularity is only existent here in the Southwest. The company does not have a far reach, but the labels adorn Flickr and Pinterest and Instagram. And
they're really nice labels.
Yeah, they're great labels.
Mallards.
Yes.
I love a good mallard.
Oh, that's a regular dirt duck? No, thank you. I want a mallard. You'll get your Instagram people and Pinterest people using the cans to like plant succulents or flowers or whatever. They use the cans for different things. They'll put erasers in it.
There's lead in those cans. That's not good for your succulent.
It's breathing now. The label's reach is greater than the sauce, which is well loved in Los Angeles. It's not really a hot sauce, so people don't make a big deal about it, but it's like a staple in a lot of Latino households. So it's something, it like gets lumped in with like Mexican
that's
food.
what I'm talking about. Like it's not salsa, but it's, if you're going to look for El Pato in a grocery store, it's going to be in the salsa section.
Yeah, it will. Yes.
So that confuses me. That's weird that it was a white guy named Johnny Walker or whatever you said. Walker. Oh, Johnny Lawrence? That started it, and then it like marketed it back to
he wanted to make American salsa. I mean, like he was living in 1868 Los Angeles or whatever. So like I'm sure like there's a lot of salsa around here. I bet I could make my own salsa too. But like there was a lot of articles that like, we don't really know too much about James Walker and like the day to day. Like there are other companies that are just
same with the La Victoria. I know that they were called the La Baca family. Yeah, and that's all I know about. And they came from Mexico, and that's all I know about them.
These salsa people are keeping it pretty tight. They're pretty tight-lipped about everything.
And here I go trying to look up La Baca family, Mexico.
I got it. I'm a researcher for 8 years now. I'll figure it out. Oh no, I'm gonna look up Gonzalez in Mexico and Patel in India.
You ready for my next one?
Your next song? Yeah. How are you gonna? What standard are you gonna sing?
Let me see if this one. This one isn't a song, but I think I have a song later. I am ending this with a big musical number.
What's the?
I don't have another song.
Is it a liar? What do like?
Yeah, you're a liar. Saying that hot sauce came out.
Pants on fire. I don't know. Whatever. 70s Lord of the Rings cartoon where they would like bring out.
Yeah.
And now Frodo walks to the Mordor.
The bard is going to tell the tale of La Victoria hot sauce. Please, Mr. Frodo, sing us just one song about La Victoria.
The trees are walking through the forest. Blah, 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 blah.
Is for the Lord of the Rings. All right, so here's my next one.
Okay.
Sometimes less is more, but when it comes to tamales, it's mas.
I don't even know what you're going for.
Tamales! So this one is a little bit of a stretch because what I'm covering here, whenever I see anything that involves a tamale before like the year 1980, they're always referred to as hot tamales.
Right.
And that's enough for me to go into a research spiral because it's also a history that's important to Los Angeles. We kind of touched on it with Max Miller a little bit, but now it's time for someone with worse lighting to tell you about them.
You sure they weren't talking about the candy hot tamales? That wasn't a Los Angeles invention. You just got confused because
they used to sell the candy hot tamales from carts.
They were wrapped
in corn husks.
Corn husks.
Candy corn husk. That's how hot tamales should be sold.
In little individually wrapped corn husks.
Candy corn husks. Because I always hear hot tamales like in any old show or something like, oh my God, this hot tamale is so spicy. So
eventually they learned that they could cut one word out and it would still be the same because no one is eating cold tamales. It's not like.
But they always seem to talk about it in the sense of like spicy.
Oh, right.
It's spicy.
Yeah.
So tamales were the street food of Los Angeles before tacos were. There were tamale vendors in LA since the Spanish days. I wouldn't be surprised if the pobladors had a few tamales stashed in their pockets when they came because they were just food that traveled.
Yeah.
Have food will travel. Am food will travel. But it was
a Donner Party story. And food will travel.
But we don't know it yet.
No, nobody even sees it coming. Nobody even
Can be food. But it was around the 1870s when the tamaleros started appearing, selling them on the street out of wagons or carts. And suddenly the Old West started looking a little bit like Los Angeles of the modern era. Because this was Old West times. And then suddenly there's like the people selling hot dogs outside of Staples Center.
Right. Everybody's a cowboy, but all of a sudden there's a food truck.
Yeah.
And, they meet at the hipster bar. They play billiards. They go to the food truck outside.
Yeah. They became insanely popular amongst the recent immigrants and poor laborers because they were cheap and quick and readily available.
Yeah.
Tamales I'm talking about. But
not cowboys?
Not cowboys, although they come easy. But the secret got out quick because pretty soon all the drunk cowboys coming out of the saloons late at night would stumble over to the tamale wagon demanding tamales. And when a cowboy demands a tamale of you, you give him
a tamale.
You take a clump of that gold that you found that you killed that prospector for and you give it to them. Not to mention all the socialists and the anarchists who were holding meetings downtown also loved these tamales because they were cheap, and socialists and anarchists notoriously don't have money. This was like the perfect food for everybody.
I feel like you could easily be describing like 2020 Echo Park. There's anarchists, but there's also cowboys, and they're all drinking at a bar, and some of them are underground, but they're all eating tamales.
They're rollerblading cowboys. But on top of all this is that they were also a gateway food into Mexican cuisine.
Right.
And it was a huge leap forward in the melding of white and Latino culture in Los Angeles. Was people coming together to eat a tamale.
Right.
Like a Lady and the Tramp style. A cowboy on one end and a ranchero on the other end, and they meet in the middle.
And underneath them, an anarchist is just whatever falls down, he picks up. He has his hands in a little bowl.
He's using the husk as a flag because he's just crazy.
He wants healthcare for everybody. He's crazy.
And the socialist is angry because he didn't get any. And just like how LA is now Taco Town, by the 1880s, you had to get a tamale when you came to Los Angeles. Like you had to get pizza when you go to New York, or you had to get yelled at when you go to Boston. They even spread to the upper class with rich white people being served tamales on fine china in their homes or at restaurants. Which one is the tamale fork?
This corn husk is delicious.
Ooh, what are these innards? Is this the guts? Ooh.
Throw these innards away.
Give it to the socialists.
Yeah, I'll eat this corn husk. Delicious. Hot and delicious.
An anarchist living in their dumpster. But just like how I'm not paying $4 for a taco at a restaurant, most people wanted to eat them off the street like the dirty dogs that we are.
Do it to me.
Most the anarchists that I secretly want to be. Most of this activity centered around the plaza at Olvera Street down Main towards 6th Street.
Okay.
Like that's where most of this was happening. It was like a tamale row where the streets were paved with tamales. This was the main hub of the city, this stretch, because you had the day laborers, the drifters, and the saloons. So there were a ton of people selling tamales to all these willing customers for tamales.
What do you have like a year around?
Like the 1880s.
Oh, okay.
This was
there was also like legitimate businessmen and like people who like had mom and pop shops like a barber.
Well, we'll hear about them.
Okay.
You've heard of the term NIMBY, right?
No, I haven't.
What are you talking? You've never heard the word NIMBY?
No.
Not in my backyard?
Oh my God.
You've never heard that?
I did. I just wanted you. I wanted you to say it all. You pig. No, I never heard the word NIMBY before.
And now I can send that. I can send that audio clipping to those homeless people pretending to record a podcast. Not in my podcast studio. I imagine like Figueroa today. Like I said, when you get out of Staples Center after a Kings game or something, but instead of hot dogs, it's a bunch of steamed corn husks.
Right.
Like that's just what it was like.
Yummy. Give it up.
Especially at night, it was crazy on this stretch, and the competition was fierce, so you had to have gimmicks to stand out. Some people made tamales right there on the street instead of bringing them pre-made. Some had counters set up on their carts that you could sit up to 8 people on one of these carts. One guy had a 2-story cart that he would sleep upstairs in so that he could travel all around the city selling tamales without having to go home like a tamale kung fu.
I come to a town, I break up a fight, I solve a problem, and I sell 30% of my tamales.
Please, our tamale warlords are fighting each other, and it's tearing the whole town apart. And then he makes like a really good tamale, and then he just kills both of them. I watched Yojimbo the other night also, so there's my other reference for you.
I love, this is a tangent that doesn't have to go to the episode, but I love, do you know that Dashiell Hammett wrote Red Harvest, and then Akira Kurosawa saw it and made Yojimbo, and then
whoever made Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah, what's this? Ennio Marconi. No, that's the musician. Marconi made the music.
Louis Prima. Sergio Leone.
Yeah, Leone made. Thank you. That's all. I just like knowing that.
Let's say more Italians. Tony Soprano. Danny Bonaducci, Daniel LaRusso. So the vendors, Ralph Macchio for that matter.
Ralph Pinocchio or whatever his name is.
Who's the guy who recently played Pinocchio?
Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro. The most Italian man I've ever met. Benicio del Toro. So the vendors weren't just Mexican people, though. They were also black. They were white immigrant vendors as well, because it was a sure way to make some money. And like we were talking about, when you come to a new country or a new part of the country, like what else can you really do until you get your bearings except sell food?
Yeah.
And all you had to do was get tamales and pay $1 a month to be licensed, and you're in the tamale business, buddy.
Yeah. You get yourself a double-decker, some gimmicky double-decker cart.
You're going around looking like one of the puppets from that wasn't used on the set of Star Wars, and you're just walking around with tamales, and you've got a demon head for some reason. Some of them would also sell other things like popcorn and sandwiches, and of course, pig's feet and oyster cocktails.
Sign me up.
But mostly it was tamales, and in particular, the style that was most popular in LA, the hot tamale style, which was an unwrapped tamale topped with chili con carne.
Okay.
So that was a hot tamale,
Really
which
good.
also, that's another thing of chili. It's in the El Pato tamale region of like, chili's not really spicy.
And I've had spicy chili before, but
can be spicy.
It's been advertised as being spicy. So
when you hear chili, you're like, ooh, oh my God.
What's this? What's this now?
I better call out sick from work tomorrow. It's not a given that chili is going to be spicy.
Yes. Unless I think like there's different regions of the country where like it's
tamales. I think in some part, like I think we talked about with Max Miller, I think in some parts of the country, a tamale is spicy.
But also, I was talking about chili, but you're right about
I think
tamales.
they're filled with chili, and like that's why it's spicy.
Okay.
I don't know.
I never leave California, so I don't know anything.
I only eat tamales off the street, so I don't know. And they don't even sell them on the street anymore, so I just,
it's a very awkward transaction, but I get what I need. Everybody gets what they need. Everybody gets
Both sides are winners. By 1901, there were over 100 tamale vendors in LA at a time when there was like 87 people in the whole city. That meant, of course, that people were opposed to them.
Right.
What's that new word what's the word of the episode?
Cobra Kai! We won this mind meld.
Strike first, strike hard, not in my backyard. And by not in my backyard, they mean bonsai trees. So that, of course, meant that people were opposed to them because time is a flat circle and history repeats as a flat circle. The local businesses hated, the mom and pop places, they hated the tamale wagons because they felt they were drawing away their customers. So as early as 1892, there were efforts made to ban tamale vendors on the street. It didn't work.
Nobody got a haircut because everyone's spending money on chili. That's not a problem. Like, that's not a thing.
They're not coming and drinking my oyster cocktails. They're all eating tamales. That's disgusting.
Nobody came in the blacksmith shop because they're all eating tamales.
Kids these days don't need swords. They just want tamales. It didn't work, but in 1897, they tried a different tactic to not let the wagons begin to operate until after 9 p.m.
Okay.
Then in 1901, the police chief wanted them all to close by 1 a.m. because they felt that they were attracting a rough crowd, which was bound to happen when you're a food source located at an Old West saloon filled with Civil War veterans with PTSD. So yeah, there's going to be an occasional fight or two and theft that occurred around them. But the media, no doubt influenced by political forces, played all of these negative stories up by painting the tamale wagons as being dangerous and dirty places. Yeah. Not in my backyard. Then they tried again in 1903 to ban them completely, but this time the tamaleros fought back.
Hell yeah.
Revenge of the Tamaleros.
Yeah.
They teamed up and got 500 of their customers to sign a letter saying how much the community needed the tamale wagons.
Right.
It said, "We claim that the lunch wagons are catering to an appreciative public, and to deprive the people of these convenient eating places would prove a great loss to the many local merchants who sell the wagon proprietors various supplies."
Okay, yeah,
so
smart.
Where are they going to get the wheels for the tamale wagon?
And those 500 people were shot and killed. And that's how the city works.
So there was kind of an uneasy truce between the tamaleros and the city for a while, and oftentimes they were even embraced by the bigger organizations in the city.
Right.
In 1905, the YMCA ran a tamale wagon to raise money to send their track and field team to compete in Portland, so they were selling tamales. But the flip side of that was that same year, 1905, the Los Angeles High School built their own kitchen so that they could make food for their students to keep their students away from tamale carts.
Oh my God.
Like, we'll give you food, don't go eat at a tamale cart for lunch.
My God.
This was actually the first food prep cafeteria in a school in the entire country.
Really?
So this was like almost the beginnings of like
cafeteria
food at schools.
It's funny to think that the cafeteria was invented to fight off tamale wagons.
And then cafeteria guaranteed food was provided by the Black Panthers. So they took it back. But it was a long, slow losing battle for the tamaleros. In 1910, 100 businessmen downtown signed a letter to have them banned once again because they said it made the area look bad. In 1920, a councilman named Fred Wheeler stood up for them, saying, "The tamale put Los Angeles on the map. These wagons are almost an institution in our city.
Yeah.
Cabrillo and his sailors are said to have found them here when they landed. Drive these wagons from our streets? Never.
And that's why you see them on every block.
Yeah, we're going to eat tamales for breakfast. We're going to eat tamales for dinner.
That sounds good. That's my life from like Thanksgiving to like New Year's. But you were describing it right now. It sounds really good.
Then in 1924, they were finally officially banned from the plaza. But in true tamalero style, everybody just ignored that and they kept selling them. But their popularity also spread beyond just the wagons. As we discussed with Max Miller, there was the Tamale Restaurant, which was opened by Samuel C. Wilhite. It sounds like another German.
Yeah.
What are these Germans taking? What's with these Germans taking all of my Mexican food?
Go to move to Anaheim, which is a German word.
This was in East LA, the tamale. In 1928, that opened up. It was shaped like a tamale. Yes. But there were also some mega tamale empires that arose from this tamale row. The not so good people of Anaheim copied the tamale trend of LA, and one of those idea thieves was Alejandro Morales, who in 1906 opened a tamale restaurant that eventually became the Don Miguel Mexican Foods Company.
Oh, wow, really?
So it started in Anaheim, but inspired by the downtown LA tamale vendors. But closer to home, and more importantly, because it's closer to home, was a company called XLNT. Max Miller also talked about this. Yeah. It's excellent. CEO was Keanu Reeves. Bill and Ted's Tamale Adventure.
Its founding member was Mr. Burns. Got it.
Bill and Ted Bogus Burrito is the sequel to this company. They started selling tamales in 1894. Excellent.
Yeah.
1894, downtown, they were doing it. But after a few years, they opened up a factory in Boyle Heights off Washington Boulevard because people loved their tamales so much and they had to keep up with the demand, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Right. They became sort of the go-to tamale brand in LA. Most likely they were providing the tamales to the tamale restaurant. Okay. So that's eventually they became owned by a worker of theirs named Charles Crawford, not that one.
Wow.
And imagine if it's that
my God.
corrupt politician Charles Crawford started in the tamale business. And he started taking them outside the city limits. He got them into grocery stores.
He shot them because he's a gangster.
It is that Charles Crawford. I lied. Take that tamale behind the tamale barn and shoot it to international tamale waters.
Take the tamale, leave the tamale.
Take the husk, leave the tamale. He got them into grocery stores, liquor stores, and school cafeterias. Oh, wow. It comes full circle. There were ads in the newspapers saying that they were the best on earth. They sponsored a radio show on KNX 1070.
I don't know the rest.
You don't know? What?
The Wave?
Big Boy? Are we talking about Big Boy?
News 98?
How are these things going over your head that I'm saying to you? KNX 1070, News Radio.
Okay, you need to understand that I'm dumb. I don't know anything about anything. If you need to know one of the actors from Adam West Batman, I can name maybe 5 or 6 of them.
It's still around KNX 1070. So they have
News Radio?
News. Their logo for Excellent was in Disney cartoons, and they would throw it in the background, and it was also in the background of Little Rascals shorts. You just see it going around.
That's funny.
In 1915, they got cars to start delivering their tamales rather than carts and wagons, calling it the Motorized Tamale Wagon, which was Ford's original name for the car.
It's a hard sell for Detroit, but in the West, it worked in the West.
They became a multi-million-dollar company under Crawford, making millions of tamales a year. By multi-million, I mean tamales. Yep. And also over 60 other items like taco kits, enchilada kits. They also made pizza and mayonnaise.
Together or separate?
Pizza flavored mayonnaise. Cut out the middleman when you put mayonnaise on your pizza.
We'll do it for you. Here's a kit.
When pizza's in your mayonnaise, you can have mayonnaise anytime. They were eventually bought by Alex Foods, which were a tamale company also in Anaheim that also invented Doritos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but now they're owned by Santa Fe Importers, and they're back in town. They're in Long Beach. Mm-hmm. They were a serious local favorite that it's kind of fallen out of favor nowadays, but they've been using the same recipe since 1906 in their signature red, white, and blue packaging. They're only found in the freezer section of supermarkets now, and they have a map on their website showing which supermarkets sell them. If you want to go, get me a sack. They also have some pretty cool shirts on there, which you should get me a sack of those too. You can buy them in bags of 6, 12, or just one giant tamale.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine such a thing?
Oh yeah. Family style.
Yeah. And
everyone just takes like a fork and just starts wolfing it down.
The waiter has it it's on his back, and he's trembling under the weight of the tamale. And the corn husk is then recycled into a wedding gown for somebody.
They put it on the table, and it if Flintstone cars turns over, like the big rib cage.
It's a living. They only make chicken or beef, but you can also buy their frozen chili con carne to get real sloppy and make it hot tamale style if you want to. Get the giant one one and make it hot tamale.
And you know what? This Christmas season, make it a hot tamale.
It was a hot girl summer. Now it's a hot tamale Christmas. But I'm burying the lead here, Greg. Excellent is the oldest continually operating Mexican food brand in the United States.
Wow, really?
That's pretty impressive. But in the 1920s, people started moving here from other parts of Mexico, and all the drunk old prospectors in the world couldn't save the tamale from being replaced by its sexy cousin who isn't afraid to go huskless on the street, the taco.
Tacos.
So
the hot dogs from Mexico. In terms of just being able to grab it.
And you have to turn your head.
Yeah, you have to turn. Yeah, that's right. We had a whole conversation before about how it's two foods that you have to turn your head to eat.
And expect to get wet. So goodbye tamales. I've got a date with a food that'll spill all over my shirt. So yeah, those are tamales.
Cool.
And this is about the midway point of the episode. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to eat one giant tamale between the two of us. And we'll see you on the other end of this break.
We'll see you on the other end of this tamale.
If you, like millions of other Americans, are like me, then you have teeth.
There's square little bones that go in your jaw.
They're tiny little chiclets that you might call chompers. If you're like us, you're a bit overwhelmed by all the teeth whitening products that are on the market. So this next sponsor, which is Smile Brilliant, has provided with us some, if you're skeptical of getting any sort of teeth whitening, these facts will clear things up a little bit for you. Teeth whitening does not whiten your teeth. All it does is it removes the stains and restores the tooth to its natural color. And the natural color varies per person, but for most it's an off-white or slightly yellowish undertone, like yours. Yours are like dark green.
Yeah, like you look at my teeth and you're like, oh, you drink tea, don't you?
Those are made of wood, right? So here's the next fact. Teeth whitening does not damage teeth, but it does temporarily dehydrate them. When dehydrated, the pores in the enamel are open and exposed, and the open pores invite acids and sugars, which, as we all know, leads to tooth decay. So avoid or minimize acidic and sugary substances for at least 24 hours after whitening. Also, avoid staining substances, as the teeth are more susceptible to restaining during this period. Here's another fact, Jacked. Tooth sensitivity is the result of tooth dehydration. When the pores of the enamel are open, the teeth become dehydrated, exposing the nerve to the elements. As the tooth rehydrates, the sensitivity will dissipate. So to accelerate the rehydration and curb sensitivity, use a post-whitening application known as remineralization or desensitizing gel. Remineralization was what Willy Wonka did to Mike TV, right?
Is when the Oompa Loompas are taking him away, they're like, remineralize that guy.
And desensitize the other one. She's full of juice. So here's another fact. Caps and veneers cannot be whitened because they do not have pores for the stains to latch to. So prior to having dental work, you should whiten your teeth, restoring them to their natural color, as the dentist will be color matching to your current shade. Here's the last fact for you. The key to teeth whitening is the delivery device. So as long as a whitening product is a peroxide-based whitener, it will remove the stains. What differentiates one product from the next is the device that holds the whitening agent to the tooth without interruption. So whitening strips neglect the crevices and molars, and they slide around on your teeth. Saliva floods the generic trays because they are bulky and don't create a seal. You might want to say, oh, I'll try LED lights.
Yeah. Anything.
Get the LED out. Guess what, Greg? Those are novelty items that add no benefit. You need a high output UV light only found at the dentist for those to work. So don't fall for it. You stupid idiot.
Well, I'm glad I kept my receipt, so we're good.
The number one whitening device recommended by dentists is the custom fitted tray. That's all that's going to work for you. You can have your dentist make your tray for $300 to $600. Or guess what? Your pals here at LA Meekly, we've got a better deal for you. Head on over to smilebrilliant.com and use their lab direct mail-in process for a fraction of the price you would pay at the dentist. And if you grind your teeth, also you can purchase Smile Brilliant's custom fitted night guards, once again for a fraction of the price the dentist charge, which we know, I think we even talked about in this episode. I use a night guard.
You had told me several times throughout our friendship, and then we did that comedy show in Arizona, so we shared a room, and you were like, hold on a second, and he put a night guard in. I'm like, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a bit.
I said, let's box.
Is this part of the-
So once again, that's smilebrilliant.com, and use coupon code LA Meekly for an exclusive discount just from us, your boys.
Who care about you and your teeth.
Because one day we're going to need those teeth from you. So that's smilebrilliant.com. Use coupon code LA Meekly. Smilebrilliant.com.
Let your teeth shine.
So welcome to the middle of the show, and
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Our trainers are icing our faces and cutting the wounds around our eyes so that we can see again.
Hit him in the gut. Hit Daniel in the gut.
Sweep the leg. Which I presume Karate Kid will be a running joke in this episode. We want to take this time again to ask you, the listeners, to answer what I'm about to ask you. For our November episode, the episode will be based around one question we got from a listener of ours, and we are going to answer it, and we want to hear your answers too. So send these in. Here's the question.
Remember, I'm dumb. Go slow, please.
So here's the question. Why, when there are any number of towns and cities in the US to live in, do people want to be in LA? Beyond the restaurants and museums, what are the things that are intrinsic about LA that make people want to live and work there? The things that bind you to the place? The things that are so elemental to your understanding of LA as home that it is hard for you to even conceive of yourselves being anywhere else? What is the quote unquote California dream that draws you here?
The dream of the big one happening. This is the natural disaster that I've come to identify with. Yeah, to crave. This is the only one that I'm compatible with.
The only reason I'm sticking around is so that I can live through the big one or die through the big one. Those who live through the big one die by the big one. Yeah. Send your answers to our email, la.meekly@gmail.com, or on Twitter @LAMeekly, or on Instagram, LA_Meekly, or maybe on Facebook. Yeah. Whatever the hell you want to do.
You know what? If you want to write me a letter, ask for my address.
So send it to us, get it to us as soon as you can, because we'll be recording that episode in a month.
Right.
So give it. Now back to the show. Yeah, so we're back. I can still feel my tongue a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to get a little spicy.
I feel like somebody put a cheese grater in the microwave for 2 minutes and then just scrape my tongue. I'm like, oh, and people are like, isn't that spicy food good?
No. Give me El Pato.
There actually was an era. I mean, there was a while where I was getting really into spicy food, and then I think I started getting heartburn a little bit after that. And I thought,
not related.
Completely unrelated. I appreciate now. I'm an adult now, and I realize that there are different tastes to different spicy foods. They don't all just taste like pain. I've dabbled in some hot chickens before.
I've been known to put a little bit of a green bell pepper on my hamburger.
I enjoy the taste of a jalapeno being near my pizza slice, but not directly
I don't
on
mind
my
if there's
pizza slice.
a painting of a habanero in the restaurant I am eating. Yeah, you're not a big spicy. I love spicy food.
You do, yeah.
My thing with spicy food,
I want it to wreck me. Like that's when you talk to the waiter. It's like I want it to mess me up.
There have only. And I grab him by the collar.
You listen here.
Listen here. What's your name? Candace.
I know this isn't Applebee's, but figure it out.
I want to be incapacitated for at least a day.
I want every conversation I have for the rest of the day to be about how hot that food was.
I want to have a picture of myself on your wall because I ordered the volcano curry and I couldn't finish it. There's only been maybe 2 restaurants I've been to where it was so spicy that I couldn't. Okay, here's one thing. This was actually in New York because there was...
What's New York?
I've never heard of that before.
New York City. You know they have salsa there. There's like a halal like meat and rice sort of thing. Yeah. And me and Melissa went there years ago and they did the sauce for you. Okay. Like it's a tray of just meat and rice and they put the sauce on for you and it was some sauce.
I bet they looked at you like, how hot do you want it? And I bet you laughed.
Here's the thing.
Like the Joker.
The first time I gave him a card, please forgive my condition. I order an uncontrollable amount of hot sauce anywhere I go.
Hi, I'm a problem customer.
You're not going to want to serve me again. So they give it to you and we ate it and it was really spicy and it was really good. We go back like 4 years later and we're like, we're going back there. Yeah. And we got it. And now they let you put as much, you'd put the hot sauce on. Okay, so they let us choose as much hot sauce as we put on. We put on so much hot sauce. I could eat like a third of it and I could it was torture. Like I could not eat anymore. And then we had a wedding to go to the next day. And I was very sick.
You had a joke for a while and you stopped doing it. You're not an alcoholic, you don't do drugs, but you like go crazy for food. And you have about 3 stories where you're like, I knew it was wrong to do it, but I ate all of it and it made me miserable. And you talk about it and you're sort of like, but like, oh God.
I was just talking yesterday with Melissa about how I think I had a corned beef sandwich, a peanut butter brownie, and a whole bottle of fruit nectar. And then in the middle of Times Square, this was also New York, in the middle of Times Square, threw up in my friend's car, in Yo Alex's car, and also out the window into Times Square with the whole world watching me and just like projectile vomit. could be New York.
That kid just threw up the Big Apple. He's throwing up a Big Apple right now. That is, I remember you were saying
that the mayor?
Didn't you like the handle?
That the grossest part when this is disgusting. Why every time, but
so
cleaning out the where you hold the door to open it was a horrific experience. I'll never forget.
I remember for your wedding, I formally I met Melissa's dad I think once before, but like now we were like partying. And he was like, we were talking about Italy and stuff, and I leaned in close like, Daniel told me that you told him not to eat a bunch of strawberries, and he ate a bunch of
cherries.
Cherries. That's what it was. Cherries. Daniel told me that you told him to not eat a bunch of cherries, and he ate the cherries, and he was sick. And he's like, yeah, absolutely.
Because we were in an area where they're like famous for the cherries, and I told him like I'm gonna buy a bunch of cherries, and he's like, don't eat too many of them. And I thought he was like playfully like, don't eat too many, and then I ate too many, and I realized he wasn't joking.
The way you told it to me, it sounded like he put his hand on your shoulders and pulled you aside like, don't do it, okay? And you're like, yeah, what? Sure.
The lights around him dimmed and there was a spotlight on him. Do not eat too many cherries.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Absolutely. Since no one's around.
Don't mind if I eat
all
another
the cherries.
cherry. Yeah, I snuck into the kitchen in the middle of the night. Dude. I took a turkey leg out of the refrigerator.
You're like a goblin for food, and I always say like you should look very different than you do, but something wrong with your body.
So
that was a 10-minute tangent. Yeah, anyways, I'm going to be talking about something that I was very proud to talk about. I'm very interested in this.
We're on our two big ones now, by the way. We saved the best for last.
We all know this man. We respect him. We've seen him for years. I'm going to be talking about Tapatio and the Tapatio man.
He's been a father figure to all of us.
We've pitted him against the Cholula lady for years now.
His unconfirmed wife, Senorita Cholula.
They're never in the same room at the same time.
Just like a married couple.
Tapatio salsa picante, or hot sauce, was started in 1971 here in Maywood, Vernon.
Wow, it's that recent?
Yeah, it's not old. Sorry.
Well, don't be so defensive.
Sorry.
It's
It
a young man's hot sauce.
I did this one first, and then I went to El Pato. I'm like, 1840. Yeah.
So what area was it?
Maywood, Vernon area.
Okay.
And it was started by Jose Luis Saavedra. I couldn't find too much about Saavedra, his upbringing, other than he came to Los Angeles by way of Mexico. In one passage in an article I read, he was from Mexico City. In another I read he was from
Ciudad de Mexico, whatever that is.
Whatever that means. CDMX, Guadalajara, which is a state in which is in the state of Jalisco. And when he got here, he found work at the aerospace manufacturing plant in Vernon. Well, what spurred
you mean the sausage factory in Vernon?
Aerospace / slaughterhouse. I don't know what that's.
They slaughtered planes and turned them into hot dogs.
There's only one plant in Vernon. They do everything there. Well, what spurred Saavedra to start his own company? During the 60s, the hot sauce that would one day become a household item started making the rounds and becoming a hit come lunchtime at Saavedra's last job working at like I said, when he was working at the aerospace manufacturer. Lunchtime, he would be serving this hot sauce that him and his wife were making. They would make batches at home, and he would take it to work. And like
just
I said,
for like the work.
Yeah,
like
just for the workers. He would make it for his own food, but then he started taking it to work, and then they probably had a little bit of it, and he's like, okay, I gotta make some for everybody now.
I'm gonna make a decoy hot sauce now.
Oh, isn't that hot sauce bad? And he's like,
nice hot sauce nerdling. They push him over right into the slaughter chamber.
And everyone, his wife and all the people that would be serving it at his work were saying, you should probably bottle this and sell this. And he was like, nah, it's too much trouble. And he was always shrugging it off.
Now that's something I can relate to.
Hey, you should do this thing. Nah, probably not. Does it have food? I can't eat it? Nah, probably not. Well, he wouldn't be shrugging it off for long, because in 1971, there was a recession and Jose Luis Saavedra was laid off from the plant where he worked. He then took on 2 part-time jobs just to keep his family afloat, his wife and his 3 kids. And on top of these 2 jobs, his wife now was pushing very hard for Jose to start his own company bottling this hot sauce. And that was starting to sound like a better idea than working these like 2 jobs. But what would you call it? Well, he was looking for something catchy, and he wanted to use something like familiar to him. And so he used his wife's family name. And the hot sauce company he was opening was going to be called Cuervo. If you're familiar, Cuervo is
and he wanted to use his cousin's first name, Jose.
Cuervo is the name of a famous tequila, Jose Cuervo, of which Dolores Cuervo is related.
Oh, weird.
So his wife,
quite a family.
It is. His wife is Dolores Cuervo of the Cuervo family, which makes tequila. We'll put a pin in that. But just so you know that when Tapatio came out, it was called Cuervo. He opened a small plant in Maywood, and on top of his 2 jobs, he started his own business, now his own small business. Jose Luis Saavedra.
Endless energy, apparently, for this guy.
Yeah. Saavedra was over 40, spoke limited English, English and had no real business background, but he went forward anyways, which
Guy's
is
sounding more and more relatable to me.
those first few years were really rough. Jose hired a worker to run the plant while he worked his other job. So basically, he'd pick this guy up in the morning, his worker, and drive him to the Cuervo plant. Then Saavedra would go to his first job. He'd come back on his break and check in on his employee and see how he's doing, give him instructions for the rest of the day for bottling and labeling everything, then go to his second job. He'd come back later with his 3 kids to the plant, Jose Luis Jr., little Dolores, not the mom, and Jackie.
Not the mama.
Not the mama. I don't like saying Dolores Jr. for females, but that's probably acceptable. The 4 of them would finish orders for the day while the kids either did homework or napped, or some of them would help out. That's the humble beginnings of Tapatio, and I love it. Like, it's really like a family business that starts from like a guy has 2 other jobs and has to make this work.
Why couldn't the Cuervo side of the family kick in a little money to make this easier?
I don't know. They've never stated.
Yeah, we support you.
Yeah, we'll support you spiritually.
As much tequila as you want, as long as it's 1 bottle a month.
They did everything by hand. He said, I'd remove the stem, I grind the peppers, and I even applied the glue to the labels. They did everything.
Do you know what kind of peppers they use?
No, I didn't look into that much. I was spellbound by the story.
Peppers.
Making it was only half the battle, and trying to get the stores to stock it would prove a little bit more difficult than actually making and putting bottling in it. It was really tiring. He would leave the bottled hot sauce at markets in East LA for consignment, meaning like they would only get paid whatever they sold off. His luck changed through a Japanese-owned grocery store, which ordered 10 cases of 24 bottles, which was a massive order for them at the time. That's something I was going to discuss later, but now's a good time too. Tapatio is well loved outside of the Latino area, like non-Latino, non-Mexican restaurant settings really love Tapatio. You'll find it at like Asian restaurants and stuff. It's a fixture on tables of restaurants across cultures, and Los Angeles, of course, is a prime way to see the different places they would get displayed.
Sometimes I don't like that because we're still talking about the Proud Boys, right?
I hate cross-cultural items.
Because sometimes I'll go to a place like a lot of Middle Eastern places will have Tapatio on the table, but like that flavor doesn't go with that for me.
Some people would disagree with you.
Yeah, well, they're wrong.
I can see you wanting like, I want this culture spicy food. I want their hot sauce.
Yeah, I don't want to just like it almost at this point it has almost become like ketchup. Like, I think both of the ones we're about to talk about have almost become like ketchup,
right?
Where it's just like you got salt, you got pepper, you got Tapatio, you got my thing, you got.
If you ask for hot sauce, it's probably going to be Tapatio that comes out.
And I love Tapatio, but it doesn't fit all occasions.
Right. Okay.
Which is why you'll see we have a whole array of different hot sauces in my home of what goes with what.
A friend of Saavedra also told him like, hey, I got an order for your company for 15 cases. And Saavedra's response was, are you out of your mind? It will take me weeks to like.
My kids have finals.
Like that's how little their beginnings were. We're like, we got a big order. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you?
Success is an inconvenience at that point.
We're not ready for 15 cases in a week. The company was struggling those early years. And because profits were so low, he had to lay off his one employee and rely on his interns.
Son.
Yeah, his interns, which being his kids, on helping him out. But help was about to come in the form of a lawsuit. Because after
Thank God.
Because after 4 years of Saavedra's hot sauce operating under the name Cuervo, the real Jose Cuervo company came after them and asked them to stop.
Wait a minute. His family came up.
His wife's family was like,
sued.
hey, can you... Yeah, they made a lawsuit and like, hey, can you stop using our
they didn't
name?
even ask first?
Yeah, I don't know if that was in the kids did an interview with the Hundreds, this publication called The Hundreds, and I don't know if that came up or not, whether like that was mentioned by the Cuervo family. Like, hey, can you not?
That's how they got to the top.
Yeah.
You don't get to the top of Tequila Mountain without cutting your own family's throat.
How sad this story is, tequila fighting salsa. But the ball was sort of in Saavedra's court because he owned the state trademark in California to sell a product named Cuervo, and Jose Cuervo tequila did not. The tequila would be
countersuit. Like a legal Cobra Kai, courtroom Kai.
It's sweep the leg still works in a courtroom setting. I'll allow it. Be strong, Daniel. Be strong in the courtroom.
Bow to the judge. Now bow to each other. Sue.
Like I was saying, the tequila would be infringing on the salsa's copyright in California. A deal was worked out between the two companies, and Saavedra sold the name and the California distribution rights to Jose Cuervo International Inc. and used the cash from the buyout to purchase the production equipment to get their salsa picante off the ground.
Now we can make 15 bottles.
Yeah, now that's no problem.
16 bottles.
Here's the weird thing. If we had a Patreon level where we had side stories, this would be a Patreon level for a side story.
I feel like there's a few in this episode. Which, hey, if that sounds like a good idea to you, let us know
Let
and
us
we'll
know.
create one.
Yeah.
And we will charge you out and up the wazoo for it.
So Jose's wife's Dolores is directly related to Jose Cuervo. Got it. Tapatio's main competitor.
Is Jose Cuervo a real person or is that just like a
I
generic
imagine
name?
it's a real person
Okay.
at some point.
Now, who's Don Miguel?
Who's Pepsi Cola? Tapatio's main competitor is and always has been Cholula hot sauce.
Right. Which in my mind, there is no competition.
Not at all. Cholula hot sauce is owned by Jose Cuervo International. I don't know when they purchased that.
Weird.
So there's a Tapatio named
Right.
Cuervo, directly related to Cuervo. Instead of joining, they made them stop calling themselves Cuervo. They bought the rights, and then they went for another hot sauce, which is the competitor of Tapatio.
This is almost like the Monster Energy thing of like Coca-Cola trying to like, if I can't beat them, I'm going to buy their competition. That's really weird.
It's really weird. I don't understand it, and I bet, and the kids are alive. I could have asked them, like, what's the deal with that? But I don't know. It wasn't in the hundreds article, so I don't.
What about Gourmet Sleuth? Do you love Gourmet Sleuth?
I don't love him. I need him.
I don't like working with a guy. He's quite ornery.
He talks in puzzles. He has a guy named Watson, but he only uses Watson as a soundboard.
He keeps doing some sort of powder out of a little case he carries around. And he has needles. I don't know. I think he likes vaccines. I think he's pro-vax.
That pig is pro-vax. Not until it's approved by the FDA. It got approved.
How about it's approved by the NBA?
What do the Proud Boys say about it? Are they pro? I love that Trump was like, he should get vaccinated. And people were like, "Bah!" Like, oh, this is bigger than him now? Whoa. I thought this was all about him. So now he has the means of production.
Right.
But he needs a brand name, a new brand name.
Okay.
And then it came to him. Charo. He bought 10,000 labels and started selling his hot sauce under the name Charo.
What?
Yeah, but was quickly sued
This
because
guy has I'm going to name this one Murder, She Wrote.
he was quickly sued because despite what the state
Ay,
of
ay, ay.
California records state,
Is that what Charo says? What is it? Cha-cha-charo.
Charo. Anyways, so they go for the name Charo, and it was quickly sued because despite what the state of California record said, there was already a company named Charo. So 10,000 labels wasted. He's like, I printed them already. So what to call this new salsa picante? How about churros?
Churro bread hot sauce.
Well, what to call this salsa picante? Well, Ceviche's kids were all born in Guadalajara, and anything that originates from Guadalajara is called a tapatio. So why not honor?
What do you mean? What does that mean?
I got to it. So why not honor his kids and have a term familiar in their community and call the new salsa picante a tapatio? Yeah, anything from Guadalajara is typically referred to as a tapatio. I didn't look up what tapatio means, though. It's just something from there.
What is that? What do you mean? It could be a person, it could be a car.
I heard like nouns, like a person. They also like call things that come from Guadalajara tapatios.
What? Like instead of saying like that thing from Guadalajara?
Yeah, they'll say tapatio.
That tapatio?
I bet it served initially as like things, and then like a person would come over like, he's a tapatio too. And then people are like, ha ha ha, but then it just stuck.
Well, it sounds like someone's uncle
Theo.
Tapa.
He likes tapas.
This is why we call him Uncle Tapas. We're not very creative in our family.
Okay, so he calls the company Tapatio, and then they were quickly sued again. This time by a major company.
By Jose Tapatio.
Conagra and Del Monte Foods, who had a similarly named product. It looks like patio. I bet it's patio. But it looks like patio. Conagra and Del Monte were assuming that Saavedra was putting ta in front of patio to work on the brand name familiarity and cash in on customer confusion, which he was not.
Although with this guy's track record, maybe he was.
Maybe he feels like a person who sees a label and then it doesn't occur to him. He's like Robin Williams stealing jokes. It wasn't occurring to me that I was stealing a joke.
It's part of my process.
Yeah, it's part of my process.
Sucked up whatever was in the room.
I absorbed labels and then I just spit them out and I don't know where I saw them. He knew that this giant company would crush him if he fought them in court, but the case, I guess, went to the Supreme Court. But in the end, he won against them because
People versus Tapatio?
People versus Tapatio.
Patio versus Tapatio?
And he was able to continue using Tapatio because he was able to prove, like, no, it's anything from, I'm not infringing on their right to call their thing patio. Tapatio is a term already, which they probably
But
use.
who's still around?
Exactly. Del Monte Food sounds really familiar. I think
Del Monte Food's they make ketchup, but they make make a ton of things.
Okay.
My favorite spicy condiment ketchup.
Now he's able to use Tapatio as a name, but they need a logo. People have apparently asked several times if the handsome Tapatio man who adorns the Tapatio bottle, if that's a depiction of Jose Saavedra. Unfortunately, no. As the LA Times puts it, he's not the dapper, mustachioed, sombrero-wearing man label. The sketch is an artist's depiction of a true Tapatio. The label is a way to dignify the appearance of a chado, a traditional Mexican horseman and gentleman, which Saavedra said has been sullied by inaccurate stereotypes. The lighter skin and blue eyes also depict the common features of people who live in the highlands of Jalisco.
So it's actually a depiction of Zorro, who's also copyrighted.
Let's call it Masked Fighter. Tapatio's next big strike comes in mid-70s when United Western Grocers Incorporated, the largest food distributor, they placed their first order for 25 cases, and it would be a long relationship that would lead to other deals that would build the company up across the country and lead Tapatio to become a nationwide popular hot sauce. Through the 80s, Saavedra got help from his new college-age kids, Jose Luis Jr.
Still making him bottle his hot sauce.
The son, Junior, studied medicine in Mexico. Dolores, the daughter, studied law, and Jackie studied finances and accounting. And in 1985, they all joined the company.
That's all. Those three are the ingredients of Tapatio.
That's the triad right there. In 1985, they all joined the company to help out and eventually brought their own kids on board. So Tapatio is really a family organization, which we love to see. We love In-N-Out. We love In-N-Out stories.
Not related. We love In-N-Out.
We love In-N-Out. Completely unrelated. In-N-Out is also another family organization, which the granddaughter is now running. Dolores, the daughter, also married a gentleman named Roche, who studied law and now works for the company on legal matters. So they're just bringing are you related?
Mario Lloyd.
What do you do? Yeah.
Do we know anyone who works in vinegar? Are you attracted to any vinegar people?
So during the 80s, Tapatio moved out of the little 750 square foot place in Maywood, and they moved to a new place that was like 8,500 square feet, less than a mile from their home. As they got more popular in the late 80s, Tapatio started releasing the 10-ounce bottles, and it was followed by the 5-ounce bottles. So you see the taller one and the shorter one.
The little ones are too small.
Yeah, they are.
That's like 2 meals.
It's good to put in like a purse or something and be
I put them in women's purses in the supermarket because I like seeing women get stopped by security on the way out.
And be like, oh, you like Tapatio? Cool. I like the topper
my
for
wife
Cholula.
My wife loves Tapatio. She's not here.
Maybe we should hang out sometime and talk salsa. 1989, with their success at the
I'm related to Jose Cuervo.
In 1989, with their success at the highest it had ever been, they introduced the Mother Lode 32-ounce bottle.
Oh my God. Are those the ones that don't even have the same top? It's like
it's like a
it's like a jug almost.
Yeah, it's like a jug. Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of Valentina. No, I think it's instead of a twist off, it's like a flip. Maybe.
Oh no, I think it's a pointy. It's a Sriracha top.
Oh, really?
I think it's a pointy.
All right. That seems more... I hate having a shake.
Yeah.
I don't like having... Don't make me shake.
Listen, chubby checker, don't make me shake. I know what year it is.
I will rattle. I will roll. I will not shake.
By 1996, Saavedra and his family realized that they had outgrown the newest facility and had to once again move. So they had to have one made. They couldn't move into a factory. So they had one. They were rich enough now to have one made. The place was big. It was 30,000 square feet. And it would be their new home for Tapatio to grow even bigger. And this is the last place. This is where they are now. By the year 2000, Tapatio had both a gallon size for amusement parks and small packets for fast food.
Yeah. I've seen those. Yeah. I think they have them at Staples Center. Even.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah. In 2010, Tapatio made a distribution deal with Kraft Foods, which expanded Tapatio's reach even farther. And after all these years, Saavedra is very tight-lipped about his success, not revealing how much hot sauce he sells or how much money the company makes. He commented that over the years he would sell 1,700 cases in a year, and that's now done in like an hour.
I'd imagine.
Yeah. He's also never revealed a Tapatio recipe to anybody. Only
that's why I want to know what the pepper is.
You need to get a gourmet sleuth on the case.
I'm not going to that gumshoe, that drunk.
That opium addict. He won't say what the recipe is, but he said that he's tried hundreds of recipes until he finally landed on something unique. Tapatio is gluten-free, MSG-free, and sugar-free. By 2016, they began releasing dry seasoning for fruits and vegetables and premium meats like smoked sausage with a Tapatio man on the packages.
For a while, me and Melissa were both obsessed with Tapatio Ruffles.
Oh, like
Lay's Ruffles.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
Really?
But they have a lot of different chips that'll have the Tapatio guy on it. I'll say, is that Zorro?
I know they have like ramen noodle packets and sunflower seeds.
They do. Yeah.
In 2021, it's now their 50th anniversary year, and the company is still going strong. They have a thing on their website right now where Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias, promotes Tapatio items and tours of factories and cooks things with famous chefs and riffs and
He's
stuff.
so funny. He's
so funny.
Funny.
I love him so much. He's funny. You know why I love him? Because he's funny.
Because of the Hawaiian shirt.
Because of the Hawaiian shirts and he's funny.
That's how I know he's funny.
And he, for a while, was also the Tapatio man. Him and his Chihuahua were on the labels with the hat and everything.
I'm glad that
you got to go buy one because it's limited edition.
You better put it with your Jar Jar Binks Pepsi can because that's going to be worth something someday.
I would pay so much for a Cholula bottle that had Kyle Kinane on it. About it, Fluffy said, Tapatio is Mexican royalty and I get to be king for a day. Buddy, you can be king forever. You're so funny.
You're so funny in
You're
that
so
Hawaiian
funny.
shirt. Fluffy, you are not just fluffy, you are also funny.
They should call you funny. Their online store is insane. I never realized how badly I want Tapatio products. I don't even like spicy food, but I'm like, I think I want the commemorative Day of the Dead Tapatio face
cool.
mask where the Tapatio man has a skull painted on his face. I think I need that. The shirts are incredible. They have like socks and face masks. Savitra continues to work there 7 days a week at the age of 82. Jose Luis Jr. is now vice president of Tapatio. His sister Dolores Savitra McCoy is now partner and director of merchandising, doing a great job. And their sister Jacqueline Savitra Mora is partner and chief financial officer. Tapatio is a #1 hot sauce on the West Coast, the third best-selling hot sauce in the United States, and is exported to more than 30 countries. Let's drink some right now. Let's all go to
Long
the
live
lobby. I want there to be a movie about the death of drive-ins, and they're playing a sad piano version of Let's All Go to the Lobby.
In the trailer.
Dun, 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 dun.
Cholula, I don't like Cholula at all.
Whoa, hard stance.
I know.
Wow.
I was a little
Came out
afraid
swinging.
I was a little afraid to say that, but it has
This
to be
is like
said.
the Gallagher episode of Mark Maron's show.
I'm walking out. You pull out your
Yeah.
microphones and
I told you I didn't like Cholula. I said it to you. Come back.
you didn't pull out your headphones. You thought you did, and you're just dragging all the equipment with you. Yeah, I don't. I mean, if the fight is apparently between Cholula and Tapatio, Tapatio wins every single time.
for sure.
There's another hot sauce that I like. It's kind of like Tapatio, but I kind of like the flavor better.
Oh, yeah?
it's from Mexico though.
Okay.
You wouldn't understand.
Who's on the label?
It's actually El Chavo del Ocho is on the bottle.
Blue Demon's on it for some reason.
Tamazula is a good hot sauce. That's what I like. But Cholula does not hold a candle, flaming candle to Tapatio.
I'm a Tapatio household. I'll throw it in some ramen sometimes.
And another thing I noticed is because the one I'm about to talk to, I'm about to talk to somebody.
I'm about to talk to these people right now.
I gotta make a call.
It would be you to talk to food. Call a food company. Put tomato on the phone. I told you not to call me home. I told you. She's here.
No, I'm recording. I noticed that hot sauce companies have great online stores.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they know their audience.
People who buy stuff online. People who buy stupid things online.
Impulse shoppers.
So you're talking about something that's third most popular in the country. I dare say what I'm about to talk about. I don't know the exact figures. I think it might be higher than third in the country.
Really?
But here we go. Our final hot sauce of the night.
Oh boy.
Cock-a-doodle-doo! That cock is spicy. Cock sauce, I should have clarified. Hope that didn't come out sounding inappropriate. By cock, I mean rooster. By rooster, I mean Huy Fong. I want to apologize for that because I didn't like saying all that.
I want the listeners to know that even without mics on, incredibly rare that all of that came out of Daniel's mouth. This is going to be a very special episode of the Untitled podcast.
I'm going to have to put another explicit E next to it, like the Sloppy Boys episode. People always refer to Huy Fong as, people like to call it cock sauce.
That's pretty funny.
It's so funny.
Oh, is that something you heard on South Park?
I was just going to say, this is so South Park of me because it has a rooster on the bottle. And I don't like that, but I needed an intro for this segment. So that's right. I'm talking about Huy Fong and their most famous product, Sriracha.
Oh, Sriracha.
You mentioned it. I didn't tip my hand.
Yeah, you didn't.
When you
And
mentioned it.
I was impressed.
Yeah, but underneath the table, my legs were just doing like an Irish jig.
I did the river dance.
But to start, what is a Sriracha?
Right.
We're going east for this one. Sriracha is the name of an oceanside town in Thailand, a little south of Bangkok.
Okay. Give me a cock sauce.
Bangkok.
Bangkok sauce?
Continental city. Back of my neck getting dirty and gritty. Now I'm mixing up two different. I don't even know what city I'm singing about
You're
anymore.
having a stroke.
I'm trying to sing that ABBA song.
Oh my God.
One night in Bangkok, the back of my neck is dirty and gritty. I'm stuck in the.
This is the third thing that I have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh my God! How many references? Okay. Hot nouns.
I'm
Ever in the
sorry I don't
City.
know every ABBA song. I know that one. I don't know every ABBA
Well, then
song.
I'm just disappointed in you then. It was a song they wrote for like their musical thing, not Mamma Mia, but it's
Papa
about
Pia?
Thailand. It's a pretty good song. What?
Papa Pia?
Tapatio. the alternate ABBA musical.
Yeah.
One night in Bangkok and the world's your oyster. Okay.
Pretty good. It's not Fernando, but it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
we'll listen. When we're done with this episode, we're going to listen to that song while listening to KNX 1070 and yelling to everybody about how they shouldn't do things in our backyard. Okay, so the town of Sriracha, a little south of Bangkok.
Yes.
It was here that in 1949, a guy named Gimsua Timkrajong got an idea. He was a businessman, so he'd always be traveling around Thailand, but also he was in Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. And like any self-respecting Thai businessman in the 40s, he liked hot sauce.
Hey.
But what he noticed in traveling around all these countries is that that all the hot sauces he tried were either salty, sweet, or sour.
Okay.
It was one of the three.
Yeah.
But what Gimsua wanted was the Thai ideal known only as my new favorite phrase, klom-klorm.
Okay.
It's the term used for something that has that perfect blend of hot, sour, and sweet. Klom-klorm. Yeah, I love that there's a name for that in Thai. So Gimsua set out to make the perfect hot sauce that balanced salty, sweet, and sour. And what he came up with, he decided to name after his hometown, Sriracha.
Killer.
So the Sriracha Killer is who I'm here to talk about.
Take me.
Now that's a spicy murder. The sauce became popular, and apparently in Southeast Asia, people all just kind of make their own homemade hot sauces.
Right.
So people started trying to recreate the Sriracha sauce, and this spread out of Thailand and went all the way to Vietnam, which is where our story really begins with a man named David Tran. Cue our Vietnam montage. It's the same as the 60s montage, but just the worst parts, but it has a great soundtrack. So David Tran was born in 1945 in Soc Trang, Vietnam, and I don't know anything about his early life, but the Vietnam War, I read 2 different accounts of what he did during the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Either he was a chef for the non-communist Vietnamese army, or he was a major in the non-communist Vietnamese army. So either way, he's not in the Viet Cong, is what
Right.
I don't want anyone to get the idea that this guy was in the Viet Cong.
If Richard Nixon is listening right now, I don't want you to get the wrong idea.
I know that Hoover's been after us for a while. When I run for president in 2024, I don't want people listening back to this and saying I sympathize with the Viet Cong. Oh no, I said it. So 2 completely opposite reports of his life, or maybe he was neither and he just had to live through the horrors of the Vietnam War, which kind of makes more sense because he seems like he was either too old or too young for either of those positions at the time. Whatever happened, when the war ended, he became a chili farmer with his brother, but the farm wasn't making any money. So like any self-respecting Vietnamese man in the 70s, he decided to start making his own hot sauce out of his chilies.
Heck yeah.
To sell. This was 1975, and he made a sauce out of chili peppers, soybean oil, garlic, salt, vinegar, and some spices that he called pepper satay sauce. He would bottle the sauce in recycled Gerber baby food bottles that were left at the U.S. bases, and he started riding around on his bicycle selling them, which begs the question, why were the U.S. troops eating baby food?
No, nobody could. There was no leaders. Nobody knew what they were doing. Who's in charge of this thing?
You've heard of the term fracking? It referred to their diet.
I feel like it's an indigestion thing that you have to eat baby food so you can poop regular. I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah. I'm just trying to justify a weird thing that you just told me.
They were smoking reefer, and then they got the munchies for some.
Reefer to be polite. The polite version.
They were doing naughty reefer, and
they were dropping reefer.
Hey, LBJ, send me some Gerber food today, man. So to brand his product, he paid a street artist to make a drawing that he could put on all the Gerber baby bottles.
Right.
And no, it wasn't Baby Nixon. He wanted an animal, and no, it wasn't Baby Agnew. He chose the zodiac animal from the year he was born, the rooster.
Killer.
Cock.
Cock.
Killer
cock.
That's you know that song? How many more things am I going to get over your head? Nobody remembers who that nameless street artist was, of course, but my best guess is that it was Banksy. So this was his now his logo was this rooster, because he was the year of the rooster. His makeshift hot sauce company had no name, but he started making money. But 1975 in Vietnam wasn't all hot sauce roosters and bicycles.
Well, what else was going on there?
Well,
was something else going on?
The problem was that something had just ended. A war had just ended that had been going on for 20 years, and in an example of American involvement that certainly could never be repeated, almost detail for detail, exactly about 26 to 46 years later, the country that had been so painfully fought over was collapsing back in on itself, with everything they had been fighting against taking full control. Saigon was taken by communist forces, and things were not great for the people of Vietnam.
Right.
Then in 1979, China invaded the country, starting the Sino-Vietnamese War, which lasted only a month, but between the two sides, about 50,000 people were killed in 1 month. China did this because they were angry that Vietnam was fighting with the Khmer Rouge along their border with Cambodia, because the Khmer Rouge were an ally of China, which they saw as Vietnam taking a stance in aligning itself more with communist Russia than with communist China, who wanted to maintain their grip on Southeast Asia. Is this?
Yeah, no.
You follow all this?
Yeah,
Which genocide do you want me to clarify first? A byproduct of all this was the persecution of a group known as the Teochew, who were an ethnic group living within China for many years, but at a certain point in history, they were sort of forced out by China and made into a diaspora across Asia. So now that China was
diaspora?
Oh, you don't listen to Diaspora 1070? It's like Jewish people are a diaspora, black people are a diaspora, like people who have been displaced from their homeland.
Got it.
and are now just kind of everywhere.
Right.
So now that the China was the enemy to Vietnam, the
Right.
Vietnamese government was cracking down on these ethnically. What the hell?
I'm getting so upset from all
You
this.
commie. Or you a commie sympathizer? I don't know.
I'm mad at both.
So the Vietnamese government was cracking down on these ethnically Chinese citizens of Vietnam, one of whom was David Tran. He was Teochew. They were pressured to hand over their possessions to the government and leave the country.
Right.
That's what Vietnam was telling these people. Tran and his family didn't want anything to do with this, so he took all the money he made from his hot sauce sales and cashed it into gold and arranged for he and his family to flee the country.
Right.
And he was not alone in doing this. Not just the Teochew, but millions of Vietnamese people who wanted desperately to escape from the new communist regime. Again, in an incident never to be repeated again in American international relations history. This was a mass exodus that lasted from 1975 through the 90s. And the people escaping were known as the Vietnamese boat people because the only way they could escape was by boat.
Right,
Like
okay.
that's some 2 million people attempted this escape and many died in the process or were caught and tortured by the communists for trying to leave. There were also
We're pushing you out, but why are you leaving?
they were pushing out the ethnic minorities.
Oh, I see.
But
Okay.
you're a pure-blooded Vietnamese person. I'm going to torture you for this. There were also people doing the same thing out of Laos and Cambodia, and the boats ranged from big steamers that crammed a couple thousand people inside, or just a small boat that could fit a dozen people.
Right.
And they were just like
Taken to
the
ocean.
elves leaving Middle Earth. Like people were just like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
These boats would go port to port from places like Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, and Australia. They would often get rejected at one and then go to another. Hopefully someone will take us in. Many even made the 3-month voyage all the way to the port of Los Angeles, which became known as the Ellis Island of the 70s because so many Southeast Asians were coming into America through San Pedro and Long Beach. Many staying here in town, but many also relocating all around the country.
Right.
One person who did not come to LA was David Tran. He and his whole family...
No thanks.
With those Santa Ana winds. He and his whole family divided themselves up into 4 smaller groups to reduce the risk of the family being separated at the port of some random country,
Right.
and then the rest of them having to continue on to God knows where.
Yeah.
So this way there are 4 groups. Each 4 group would try one place, and there was a higher chance of each of them all being taken in as one group, so the family wouldn't lose contact with each other.
Right. It's so strange because you're telling me like, oh yeah, just call the other one when you
I know.
land, but then like, no,
Is that
you
crazy?
don't
I was
have a
thinking the
cell
same
phone.
thing of like, well, you'll get to America and you'll
Yeah.
just contact them. It was like 1978. You're
Yeah.
never going to find
Yeah.
them again. You're not going to find someone who ended up in Indonesia and you're in like Des Moines.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to see each other.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I don't want to sound like a millennial, but like, I don't understand how people would communicate easily.
What's a phone book?
a telegram?
So one group went to Indonesia, one to Hong Kong, one to Malaysia, and one to the Philippines. David got on a Taiwanese boat meant to hold 1,500 people with 3,317 other people that it was named Gathering Prosperity, or in Taiwanese, Huy Fong.
Oh, wow.
That was the name of his boat. It was a 5-day journey to Hong Kong where the captain told the authorities that the people on board had been shipwrecked at sea and he saved them all. And that's why, like, he didn't want to tell them, like, these are refugees, which nobody wanted to take in. So the British, they still didn't buy it and they refused them entry. So now they were just adrift at sea, not knowing where to go with nobody extending a hand to them.
Yeah.
They eventually waited in a UN refugee center somewhere in Southeast Asia before finally the U.S. allowed them to dock in beautiful, sunny Boston.
And the welcoming people from Boston with open arms.
With open arms and a knife in each hand.
What do you mean you're not a Sox fan? I don't know what that means. I'm not from here.
Do you like the Bruins or do you like the Patriots? Those are 2 different sports. And one of them I don't even think is from Boston. I can't think of a single team from Boston other than the Boston Bruins.
The Boston Bruins?
How many references
Oh
am I going to
my
make? Don't you listen to Boston Bruin 1070? So he hated it in
Right.
Boston. It was cold, and also it was cold.
Yeah.
But most importantly, it was cold.
Yeah.
But even more importantly, it was cold. But then the most important thing was that they didn't have any fresh red hot chili peppers, which, to come from just out of war-torn Vietnam where the government was pressuring you to leave because of your race, and then getting to Boston and being like, wow, this place is awful. Luckily, his brother-in-law had settled in LA, so one day he asked him if they had fresh red peppers there, and he said there were plenty, and off David went to Los Angeles. This was 1980, but when he got to LA, while there was plenty of fresh produce, he found himself very disappointed in the hot sauce options around
Right.
town, and he wasn't alone. A lot of the Southeast Asian immigrants who were piling into LA at the time felt the same way, because like there were some Thai options available for hot sauce, but because of the way things were between the US and Vietnam, there was no options for Vietnamese people such as himself who wanted a familiar hot sauce to put in their pho and things like
Right.
that. So after only being here for a month, he decided it was his righteous duty to fill that void, and he went to Grand Central Market, bought a bunch of Red Hot Chili Peppers albums, and went to and
Pretty good at the beginning.
so he got these Red Hot Chili Peppers and he went to work recreating the pepper satay sauce he used to make back in Vietnam.
Okay.
He specifically went with red jalapenos, which are the same as green jalapenos, but they're left on the vine longer, which turns them red and makes them spicier.
Okay, that's the same thing. The same difference between Red Hulk and regular Hulk.
Yeah, he's
So
been on the
just
vine too long.
longer. Yeah.
The anger vine. Eventually, he felt he got the recipe right, and he painted his signature rooster on the side of his van and went supermarket to supermarket and restaurant to restaurant in the Asian parts of town, mostly in Chinatown. Were they in baby food bottles again? I don't know. Maybe.
It's not a baby food bottle. It's a rooster bottle. Can you tell there's a rooster?
It's a
on there?
baby rooster.
There's
It's
a baby
a little chick. He clearly saw that he was satisfying a need, and soon he started selling his sauce in the Vietnamese places down in Little Saigon in the Forbidden Zone of Orange County. And after just 1 month, he made $1,000 in profit.
Pretty nice.
Pretty nice. After a few years, the demand amongst the Asian community was so high that in 1983, how high was it? That in 1983, he cashed in his life savings once again, but this time to buy a 5,000 square foot factory on Spring Street in Chinatown, Los Angeles, to keep up with the demand. The machines he bought for the factory didn't work well for what he was doing, so he had to learn how to engineer and
my
build and then
God.
invent new designs for machines that could get done what he needed to get
Wild.
done. Now, his original intention with making hot sauce was that he was trying to make something his fellow Southeast Asian expats would like, and as such, he never did any advertising. He just sold them to areas with that population, and if you knew about it, you knew about it, and everybody knew about
Yeah.
it. Like, he never ran an ad, never did it on
Yeah.
KNX 1070 or anything like that. Like, it just, much like, again, like this podcast, it just became so popular without just an unspoken popularity
No one
amongst
has
the
ever-
Asian community.
Amongst refugees.
Most of our listeners are refugees. But then something big happened in LA in 1984.
Oh.
No, it wasn't the revolution against Big Brother we were all hoping for. That's right. It was the Summer Olympics.
That's right.
They came to Los Angeles. The entire world descended upon LA, and this inspired David that maybe he should consider making a sauce that was meant not only for his fellow Southeast Asian immigrants, but something for the entire world. Like, he
Right.
just got caught up in the Olympic
Yeah, I'm
spirit.
sure everybody did. Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
I'm making these woven baskets for the entire world.
He got the tattoo, the rings tattooed on his arm, and all he did was see like one karate match in Reseda.
It was kind of local, but it was a big deal to them, so I just kind of got
There was
caught up
an
in
illegal kick to the head, but he still liked it. And the sauce he chose for this was a recreation of a sauce that was famous where he was from. We learned about a long time ago in this story, Sriracha. He created his own version of that hot sauce he knew from home, and he slapped it in a clear bottle with his rooster on it and a bright green cap that was meant to imitate the stem of a fresh chili pepper.
Never thought about that.
Yep. And suddenly there was a whole new type of hot sauce in Los Angeles. And for that matter, America.
Right.
It caught.
And for that matter, the world.
And for that matter, the solar system. And for that matter, the galaxy. And for that matter, the multiverse. Starring Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe and Benedict Cumberbatch, probably.
It caught on fast, first amongst the Southeast Asian community, but then the Asian cooks, much like Tapatio, the Asian cooks who worked in restaurants around LA started bringing Sriracha, Huy Fong Sriracha, into work to use in their personal meals that they would make for themselves. And then eventually it started getting incorporated into the food at those restaurants as well.
What's that green thing that you're putting on your food? Oh, nothing. You wouldn't like
You
it.
wouldn't-
You wouldn't like
you
it.
wouldn't
There's not
get
enough for both of us.
It's ketchup. It's
It's,
ketchup. Use more ketchup.
It's Asian ketchup. Leave me alone.
A lot of times the spicy in a spicy tuna roll is Sriracha itself.
Oh, really?
The popularity started to grow more and more amongst the general public, which led to an increased demand. So he had to move into a bigger factory that was 68,000 square
Jeez.
feet in Rosemead in 1996, which was the former factory of Whammo, who is the company that invented hula hoops, frisbees, and slip and slides. And that's how the Sriracha slip and slide was invented. And as we all know too well, increased exposure to the general public means you have to deal with the opinions of the general public. That meant a lot of people complaining that the sauce was too hot, to which David responded, if you don't like it, use less. We don't make mayonnaise here.
That should have been the slogan of the bottle.
There's a lot of Vietnamese on the bottle. That's what he's saying. We don't make mayonnaise.
We don't make mayonnaise.
Lao Wai. Which leads us to how he got it so hot. I got info on the peppers for you. Unlike you did not have this on Tapatio.
Hey,
David Tran, he's not so tight-lipped as
he wants the world to know.
As Jose Cuervo. David sourced all his peppers from one specific farm who he felt picked the perfect peppers for his...
Are you practicing? Are you getting ready?
I'm getting warmed up for when we start the episode. Yeah. So it was the perfect peppers for his picante sauce. Underwood Farms, which are in like Moore Park, they're in Ventura.
Oh, really?
They're right over here. A lot of people go there because they do like pick your own apples. So he joined up with them in 1988, and not only did he like the taste and spice of their peppers, they're right over here. So they were so close that he could have them picked in the farm and ground fresh in his factory the same day. Damn. They also worked as a team and tailored and modified their peppers to exactly what David wanted in terms of flavor. Right. And then they spliced it with this mosquito DNA.
And now there's an amusement park that nobody can go to. They keep trying.
That's the real reason why you can't go into the old Rocketdyne area of the Santa Susana Pass. It's because of the Sriracha dinos. I'm not afraid to say it.
You know that dinosaurs eventually evolved into the Sriracha rooster. A lot of people know that. That you probably had feathers.
That's on the Sriracha Jurassic Park. And you see the Sriracha rooster flying into the sunset.
Like, cool. Do I shoot this thing down?
Should we kill it?
Is it trying to attack? I don't know yet, but it could.
And then Jeff Goldblum falls asleep, and we all say goodnight, Jeff Goldblum. So they started out dedicated 50 of their acres at Underwood Farms to making peppers exclusively for Huy Fong, and eventually that grew to 1,700 acres, which was 75% of their whole farmland was devoted exclusively to making Huy Fong Sriracha.
God, that's amazing.
Huy Fong Sriracha was always popular from the day it came out, but around the mid to late 2000s, you probably remember.
I remember this.
I don't even know what references you get anymore, so maybe you remember this. For whatever reason, the internet really latched onto Sriracha, and it exploded in popularity. It became like a religion for people, and companies started capitalizing on that with Sriracha popcorn, Sriracha hummus, Sriracha croutons.
I remember everyone was wearing Sriracha shirts for a while.
Yeah. As I was doing research for this, someone walked by me with a Sriracha shirt. I'm like, you must have gotten that in the mid to late 2000s. Bon Appetit named it Ingredient of the Year in 2010. There's video of the astronauts eating it on the International Space Station.
Kidding.
In 2000,
it's been to space.
And this is also how Alien started. In 2007, the entire company sold out of their entire inventory in September, which meant there were 3 months of the year that they could not sell Sriracha because there was no Sriracha.
I guess I'm taking a vacation.
David also never patented the name Sriracha, so so tons of imitators popped up, and and the bottles, some of the imitators use the same exact bottle, but like the lid is yellow. And when a place like Taco Bell started doing Sriracha tacos, Huy Fong didn't see a penny of that. But David did not mind because he just saw this all as good publicity.
Right.
And he didn't have any reason to worry either, because not only was his Sriracha made with such high quality ingredients at a really high quality level, but it was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Tran has never raised the wholesale price of the sauce, and you can get like a giant bottle for maybe $5 at most. Like I saw a really big bottle yesterday for like $2.30.
Yeah.
In the afternoon. It cost $40. He always set out to make a rich man's sauce at a poor man's price. Right. That's all he wanted to do. It's so cheap. Like we were talking about at restaurants, you'll see that they'll just put an entire bottle of it out on each table like it's ketchup, which is also part of the reason it became so popular, because people got visual recognition of seeing this hot sauce at the restaurant, because they don't care. Like if someone's going to run out with their Sriracha bottle, like big deal. Yeah. And I do. And they don't chase. They can't chase you.
They can't legally. They can't chase you.
Unless it's over $5 worth of Sriracha, and it never is.
It never is, baby. I weigh it.
They became so big. How big did they become? That they outgrew the Whammo factory.
Wow, really?
And in 2010, they started building a $40 million, 170,000 square foot brand new factory in Irwindale at, here's that word again that for some reason is trouble for me, Azusa Canyon Road and Cypress Street, which is now Irwindale's biggest building, is the Sriracha factory. They can tell the seasons by how the sun hits the Sriracha factory. And on the equinox, it's beautiful the way that the sun hits the sambal. This new factory operates 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, capable of grinding over 1 ton of peppers a minute, 21 tons a day, and about 100 million pounds a year, churning out 3,000 bottles of hot sauce an hour and some 20 million bottles of hot sauce a year. But it wasn't all smooth Sriracha for Huy Fong. At times, it was downright chunky sambal. To start, the proud residents of Irwindale persuaded the proud city of Irwindale to sue Huy Fong.
Why?
In 2013, because the residents complained that the spicy smell from the factory was like tear gas and was making their throats hurt and their eyes water.
Fair.
This is a perfect example of a NIMBY. These are NIMBYs, Greg.
Okay.
What I'm telling you about are NIMBYs.
I thought it was Kimby, Knots in My Backyard.
I thought it was Kirby. Are these people not all Kirby's that we're talking about? They swallow other characters
and then they become big.
They
and
fly around.
Yeah.
David assured them that his factory didn't smell and that they only actually grind the chilies for 3 months of the year during late summer to mid-autumn, which was the harvest. He even opened up the factory to free weekly tours to show people that nothing overtly stinky was going on. He hung a banner that said no tear gas made here. That's also on the bottle. But the lawsuit ended up partially shutting down the factory temporarily, which led to David threatened to move the factory out of California, which was so serious a threat that Governor Jerry Brown had to personally broker a peace treaty between Huy Fong and the city of Irwindale, because that would be a huge financial blow to California if they left. As part of the agreement, they had to install new filters into the factory to keep the smells inside, and the citizens of Irwindale had to grow up. And in May 2014, the lawsuit was dropped. I say that, but if I lived across the street from
absolutely,
I would never. And like my baby was turning red every day because of
you would complain if a building was too tall. You'd be like, "What? How dare they?
My wind current.
I couldn't see that cloud that looked like a dog for 5 minutes.
A bird flew behind it, and if that building wasn't there, I could have seen the bird for longer." It was an egret, Greg.
My favorite. You know that. And you know what? Governor Jerry Brown knows that.
And his son, or his dad? Who was the other Brown?
I don't know. My only reference for Jerry Brown is the Dead Kennedy song.
Jerry Brown, Jerry Brown. Then a more permanent problem arose in 2017 when a financial dispute arose between Huy Fong and Underwood Farms.
Oh, no.
Which led to their partnership being terminated.
That's where all the stuff comes from.
Yeah, you don't have sauce without the chili. That also says that on the bottom. It's a really long label. Underwood Farms started making their own Sriracha using their peppers, while Huy Fong had to find new suppliers elsewhere in California, New Mexico, and Old Mexico.
Okay.
Which kind of pained David because he prefers to get as many ingredients as he can from the U.S. because he wants to repay the favor to the only country that granted him asylum. Right. Some people feel that the sauce isn't the same since they switched suppliers. Then there was a personal slam from the granddaughter of the originator of the original Sriracha sauce.
Okay. I was waiting for this.
Yeah, this malevolent force in the shadows, it should not be forgotten. Something of a Coach Kreese, Sensei Kreese, sorry, Cobra Kai. The traditional Sriracha is thicker, sweeter, and tangier than Huy Fong's version.
Right.
And the granddaughter says that she hates the Huy Fong version.
Whoa.
She says it's just overpoweringly hot with no other flavor and is definitely not clom chlorm.
Give me some of this clom chlorm so I could try it. I'll happily be like, okay.
Clom chlorm is a state of mind.
Okay, they both taste like pain. Okay, great.
Well, you know what? I kind of agree with her. I'm not a huge fan of Sriracha, of the Huy Fong Sriracha, because I do feel like it's certainly spicy, but I don't really like the flavor. Like it's very vinegary and I don't really, it kind of overpowers you.
Right.
I do really like their chili garlic. I will say that.
Okay.
In fact, it's part of my chili arsenal, my hot sauce arsenal.
Arsenal? Some people collect closets full of guns in case something happens. I collect a bunch of chilies in case.
And mine are also locked up in case. I don't want my kid to
hurt himself with one of those chili bottles.
Or a friend. Or me. The granddaughter went on to add another slap in the face saying champagne is one kind of drink, Sriracha is one kind of sauce. Whoa. Like it's not Sriracha unless it's from Sriracha.
Wow.
She doesn't like that David used their name for his sauce, but if you want to see if this lady can back up her words, her original family brand is Sriracha Ponich, which I have not been able to find anywhere in town. And believe me, I have looked. And sticks and stones can break his bones, but hurtful words about his peppers don't really matter because David Tran is laughing all the way to the spice spice bake.
Yes.
He says, I know it's not Thai sriracha, it's my sriracha, which is a rhyme I don't know if he intended, but it's pretty good.
It worked, and that should be...
it's on the bottom.
It's on the bottom.
Add it to the bottom.
Get rid of the ingredients and just add it to the bottle.
No sort of warnings like there might be lead in this. Just giving the rhyme. And his sriracha controls 10% of the entire hot sauce market in the United States. But it's not even about the money for him, which is something only people with money can say. He's not interested in ever selling the company because he's more interested in just providing a good hot sauce to people who want it rather than the profits like other companies are.
Right.
And that's a slam on whoever you cover. That's why he keeps it within the family with his son as the president, his daughter as the vice president.
These chili people keep it in the family.
I know, they really do. It's two chilies on a pod.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Two chilies in a podcast. Here we go.
That's the name of the episode.
He also never set out to become a billionaire, which is something only billionaires can say.
I didn't know how I was going to make it this far.
Oh, I only wanted $400 million. He said that he just wanted to make enough fresh chili sauce so that everyone who wants Huy Fong can have it. Nothing more. He keeps it simple. They only make 3 sauces. They make sriracha, sambal olek. I don't really know how to pronounce that. Yeah. And chili garlic. I know how to say that. And that's the one I like. Chili garlic. I love that. They still never advertise because they don't have to. And they employ no salespeople because they also don't have to. Right. He just wants to keep making it. And he wants to keep making it spicier as well. Like I think it's spicier than it used to be. He also seems like a really friendly guy. Like everything, he seems nice. He usually greets people on the end of those tours and he reads fan emails. Whoa. And he even takes recipe suggestions, I guess. So next time you drive through Irwindale and start coughing, just remember this and smile. It's not just the COVID that's doing that to you. It's the Huy Fong factory.
Unless you make it to Monrovia and you're still coughing.
If you get to like Rialto and maybe Rancho Cucamonga,
you might have COVID.
You might have COVID.
With Dr. Fauci stand up. You might have COVID.
I can't wait for this special. So yeah, those are our hot sauces.
Yummy.
We have a listener question at the end here to wind down a little bit. This is from Big Ankles on Instagram.
Edwin RZ, I'm watching Shang-Chi with him.
Well, you should watch Cobra Kai. You like karate fighting?
Hey, you like some sort of martial arts stuff?
This is like a grandpa who's really into Cobra Kai. You like karate fighting? He's trying to get his grandkids to watch Cobra Kai with him. You like karate fighting?
I watched all 3 seasons, so I'm kind of a purple belt now.
That's just my waistline. Something's wrong with me. So here's this question. How long would it take to walk from Union Station entrance to the end of Venice Boardwalk? I assume he meant the pier, the Venice Pier.
Sure.
We have guesses and I looked it up.
Okay.
What's your guess?
Well, okay. I'm trying to remember, but I remember biking. It's a mile every 10 minutes, the speed I was going.
Okay. Typically. I can run a mile a minute.
Don't ask my gym teacher because they don't remember well, but I can run a mile a minute. I remember biking from Echo Park through downtown to hit Venice and then taking Venice to my brother when my brother lived in Little Ethiopia to Fairfax, and that was an hour and a half to 2 hours.
This
and
is
that's
like the Los Angeles SATs, and if you leave on a Schwinn bike from Echo Park and you have to be in Little Ethiopia by 4 p.m.
I'm gonna say 4 hours. 4 hours of solid walking, very little breaks. Keeping a good pace.
See, I did a similar thing because I was thinking about when me and Melissa walked from Sherman Oaks to Studio City, and that takes about like maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
Right.
So my guess was 9 hours. Like I that's what I thought.
Right.
Your guess was 4 hours?
Yeah.
I looked it up on Google Maps, Little Walking Man.
Yeah.
5 hours and 23 minutes.
Okay.
Which seems that's kind of crazy that you can walk from Union Station to the ocean in 5 hours and 23 minutes, which I think we should do. I've always been saying we should do a
pilgrimage. I wasn't far off. This little walking man on Google walks faster than I do.
Yeah, this guy won't stop.
He's walking through the Pacific Ocean right now.
You wanna here's something you can never stop doing. Right. Leaving us reviews on iTunes. Look, here's an easy way if you're wondering how do I leave a review? How do I do this? Here's a new link you can use. It's ratethispodcast.com/LA Meekly, and you can go to that website and it will take you to where you can leave us a review on iTunes and a few other places. But do it because it's really helpful. It gives us more sort of cachet, and it makes us more searchable. It makes us look better, and it feels good.
It feels good. That's how we're going to become the Sriracha of podcasts.
Right now, we're the La Victoria of podcasts.
You can also go to lameeklypodcast.com, which is our new official website designed by the
it's
beautiful
ready.
Ada Ruiz. It's according to me and Ada, it's ready. Well, another person thinks it's not
It's
ready.
under construction, but it's available. Sure.
You can walk in the building, but there's about 400 stories that want to be added for some
There's
reason.
a bunch of tarps and like most of the lights don't work, but we'll have those working.
Bunch of hammers lying around for some reason.
Loose nails everywhere.
Loose nails.
And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yes. Our entire YouTube channel where Daniel cut all the episodes into segments, but also we have full episodes. We have some weird video stuff we did.
And soon we'll have more weird video stuff.
I can't wait.
Again, that Reddit thing,
Yes.
r/Los Angeles History. Follow us on Instagram at LA Meekly, Twitter at LA Meekly. Send us an answer to the question we were asking for, and also support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. We will send you a handwritten postcard from a place in Los Angeles every single month.
With your name on it and kind of your address scratched out sometimes. Because if I do more than 6 at a time, I kind of stop paying
I
attention.
did 10 today.
Did you?
I did 10. I was in a mood, and
wow.
I felt like a real scrivener.
I have to make piles, so I make sure to not do I can't do 3 Galcos at once.
Yeah, I know.
So I have to make piles.
What else am I going to say about pans?
And then you have to be these 2 people are not going to read the same thing about pans. I could write the same thing about pans to 2 separate people. They'll never know.
My biggest fear is that I'm going to get lazy and write the same thing twice, and then someone's going to post it online and say, what the? Yeah. And then it's this is a Patreon gate. And suddenly I'm kicked out of the NFL. Yeah, that's our hot sauces. Made me kind of hungry. It didn't make me as hungry as other episodes.
Yeah. I really want ramen with.
That does sound
sounds really good. On a kind of cold day.
Maybe in when the second ice age hits in 2032, then maybe you'll want some more cold ramen. Yeah, these LA hot sauce.
Los Angeles.
Who would have she loves me. The hot sauce capital of the world. Try these. I kind of want to try La Victoria again, even though I know I don't like it.
I know. I kind of as you were talking about, I can taste for sure, have a tang in my mouth for Sriracha and Tapatio. But as we're talking about negatively about Cholula, I'm I can't remember how Cholula tastes. I should probably have a little bit.
It's probably best that you don't remember how Cholula tastes, because Cholula doesn't taste.
It's just wet.
So enjoy the hot month, September. We'll see you in a couple weeks for our next music episode. Right. And if you don't listen to those for whatever reason, I think some of you don't. I don't know why. It's us in shorter doses.
Yeah.
What more do you want? We'll see you it's October. If not,
for our Halloween episode, probably.
So enjoy it. We'll see you then. And that's been yet another episode of LA Meekly. KNX 1070.
I love ABBA. Did I do it?
The world is your oyster, Greg. The world is your oyster.
As in, I don't like oysters.
All right.
Fight me, karate style.